Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, shiur Torah, Baruch Hashem. We're back in Miami. The house, we've had an enormous amount of siyata d'ishmaya. Wednesday shiurim always have special siyata d'ishmaya. And also have special mesirut nefesh. It's always more difficult. Always more difficult. Camera broken, camera this. Get lost on the way here, even though I've been coming here for 4 years. Stabach shimo. So sometimes they say, maybe if you put me in a closed room, I'll find my way. But Baruch Hashem, we've had a lot of good things happen here, and we have to continue the series. Our Pirkei Avot series continues to generate more and more good news. More people sending fantastic stories of Teshuva. Recently, Hashem has had mercy on me and sent me extra, more than they usually even, Baruch Hashem. I should be amazed at some of these stories. But Hashem are Teshuva stories. Anyone that hasn't checked it out, you need a little chizuk. Go to the website, bezratashem.org, our website, and you go to the tab Teshuva stories. And there you'll see mamash the actual letters themselves that people have written. At least some of them that we've we got the permission to post online, and it's really, really wonderful. Some of these stories, everybody that does Teshuva or converts and does Teshuva, whatever it is, everybody has a story. Everybody has a wonderful story of how they found the truth, how they found Hashem, and it's amazing. So today's shiur will be for all of those people that have sent us, taken the time out of their day, and have really shared their story, because it's very personal. It's and sometimes it's not so easy to put your whole entire transformation on a piece of paper. And it's a lot of chizuk. I get chizuk from it, even though sometimes I read the same story 10 times, and I know the story. I know how it ends too. But you read it again. Why? 'Cause there's just something special about each one of these Teshuva stories. So, B'ezrat Hashem, for anyone that has gotten chizuk from our shiurim and wants to use their story as a way to get other people to do Teshuva, believe it or not, you will. And you can put it on our website, send it to us, we'll put it on our website, or you can put it on our website yourself. Just log on to the website, and there's a section there. You log on, make a profile, and you can put your story there. And it's highly recommended to do it, because this is just a very cheap way to get people to do Teshuva, simply by learning about your journey. Why is your journey so special? Even though you may not think it's so special, because some people say, "Oh no, one day I saw a video and I did Teshuva." What's so special about it? It's very special. Why? Because there's somebody else in the world that has a Yetzirah, and he also just watched a video. He watched MUSSAR number 162. He watched MUSSAR number 1. He watched Path of the Just series by Rabbi Mizrahi. He watched something, and he's thinking of doing Teshuva. But then the Yetzirah says to him, "What, are you out of your mind? You just watch 1, 2, 3 videos. You're already going to change your whole life because of this one video." Yetzirah comes to him with, "Come on, are you crazy? It's just one video. Look at how many more billions of videos are against Hashem. So what, you found one that's for Hashem? No, come on." But if he goes, and he has the merit, and he goes to the website, and he sees a story like his, he says, "Wow, look, he also watched the video, and he also did Teshuva. Oh, look, this guy used to also be addicted to video games, and he did Teshuva. Oh, look, this woman also was intermarried, and she did Teshuva." And so on and so forth. You see all these wonderful stories, and it's truly amazing. It's truly amazing to see some of the stories. Recently, we got a few really good ones. I'm not sure if they're posted on the online yet, but they will be, B'ezrat Hashem, if they haven't yet. And one woman is mamash going through a tikkun of tikkunim, mamash gehenom in this world. One difficulty after difficulty her whole life, and she's going through cancer. She's going through cancer, and when you're going through cancer and you feel like you're dying every day, because in reality you almost are, and the doctors tell you, we're not really sure if you're going to survive the week, let alone survive the year, let alone have a long life. The last thing on your mind, so if you're not glued to Hashem already, the last thing on your mind is, should I keep Shabbat? Should I keep the Shabbat? Why? It's very easy to get mad at God if you don't know Him well. If you don't know Hashem well, it's very easy to get mad at Him. And she says, when I got it, I got really upset at Hashem. I got really angry with Hashem. Why is He doing this to me? I'm a nice person. And she said, I stopped keeping Shabbat. Then later on, she started realizing maybe I should change my ways, get some advice, go to some rabbis. And you'll read the story, Bezat Hashem. I'm not going to tell you the whole details, but she says that eventually, Baruch Hashem, she came across our videos, and she said, I have to keep Shabbat, I have to do Teshuva, and this is from Hashem. And she says, as painful as it is to hear some of the things that are in the shiur, whether it's about punishment, or it's MUSSAR about how in reality we're not as good as we think we are. Sometimes we don't even know how to say something as simple as thank you. It's hard to hear some stuff like that. Why? You're a grown person. You're 30, 40, 50 years old. By now you should figure out how to say thank you. And you realize, I'm 50 years old. I still don't know how to say thank you. So it's hard to hear some stuff like this. But she says, this is the fire I need. And this fire is curing her cancer, Baruch Hashem. This fire is curing her neshama. And this is, again, it's a constant battle every day. Because every day you have to fuel the neshama. Because when you fuel the neshama, you kill the chemotherapy, you kill the cancer, you kill the spiritual cancer and the physical cancer. And her story is mamash wonderful. And there's another woman sent another story, and she's actually had a rabbi for 43 years. So I told you guys the story yesterday. 43 years, lied to her. Finally, she started watching the shiur Torah. Baruch Hashem, she's doing Teshuva. Finally, after 43 years of going to a different rabbi. She says, I didn't realize 43 years I was going to a secular rabbi. He's going to a secular Orthodox rabbi. He was Orthodox. Don't think he's a Reform. No, he was a secular Orthodox rabbi. Then another guy and his wonderful wife, Mamash, I cried when I heard the message. They sent me a message in Hebrew. Anyone understands Hebrew? When we post it, you have to hear it. You're going to cry at the end. I don't know, for people like this, the message, I can't even put it into words. It won't do it justice, but for people like this, Hashem keeps the world alive. He just tells you of how they were mamash looking for the truth, and they simply couldn't find it. They were very, very confused, because a few months ago, there was a whole thing that happened at Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh massacre, they call it, and this Nazi terrorist decided to go to a Reform shul that was having a Chilul Hashem party, and killed 11 people. And the rabbis that are supposed to be defenders of Hashem didn't exactly defend Hashem in this case, where they said, these people are Kedoshim. And they said that they're in the same level of Rabbi Akiva. They died on Kiddush Hashem. And this couple that has been doing Teshuva for the last few years was very confused. It's very confused. We don't understand. How is this Kiddush Hashem? They go to one rabbi, says Kiddush Hashem. Another rabbi, Kiddush Hashem. Another rabbi. They look at the Halacha. The husband is already learning in yeshiva. He's not a regular priest. I'm much learning. He says, I don't see it, Kiddush Hashem. I don't understand what's going on here. And I don't know if you guys remember, I said a few things. I had a few things to say about the Pittsburgh massacre. And I said, finally we found Emet. He says they started crying when they said, the Emet still exists in the world. Emet still exists in the world. So you think that sometimes all the headaches you get for telling people the Emet, that maybe you're wasting your time sometimes. Yetzirah tells you, why are you saying it? Why don't you be like a nice guy like everybody else and tell them they're all going to Gan Eden? What is it? It doesn't cost you anything. And you think that, maybe you should be a nice guy. Yetzirah constantly works overtime. But you can't, because if you're Ish Emet, you can't be a liar too. But you get a lot of headache for it. But then you see that as a result of fighting for Hashem, you start finding diamonds everywhere. And I can tell you just mamash from several years, 4 or 5 years, we've been doing lectures. The most amount of results, positive results, real Baalei Teshuva, even from people that actually did Teshuva, have come from the most difficult shiurim, most difficult topics, whether it be wasting seed, or be the Pittsburgh massacre, or be the Holocaust truth that we've uncovered, and so on and so forth. The most amount of people that have actually done Teshuva have been from those shiurim. And the reason why is because the Jewish neshama is yearning for truth. It's dying to get truth. And unfortunately today, it's so rare to find it that when a person that's looking for it finds it, it's like, I've arrived at Gan Eden. They get mamash. It changes their whole life, the whole perspective. And this couple tells me, listen, even though they've already been doing tshuva, and Baruch Hashem he's learning, and Baruch Hashem they're doing all types of wonderful things, he says we actually started doing real tshuva in the last several months. Why? We changed our entire hashkafa, our entire mind, like our entire system of thinking changed. Why? We have dat Torah now. We have dat Torah now. We thought we were doing good. Keep Shabbat, keep kosher. Thought we're doing good. It says once you start hearing the truth for what it is, how Chazal said it says it changes your mindset. Baruch Hashem, you hear them. It's a very, very. I'm not giving it enough credit with the words I'm saying. Once you hear this message, it'll make you cry. So many people, Baruch Hashem, are looking for emet. I even have one guy. He just sent me a story. I haven't completed it yet, but he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi for, I think it was, if I remember correctly, 15 years. Mamash, neo-Nazi. And now he's not only tshuva, this guy is going for the whole thing. He's going for Torah, mitzvot, everything he's going for. Conversion. He's been going on a conversion journey already for 7 years. And he's mamash, part of the tshuva that he's doing is mamash getting the emet, getting mussar. Now, the good news is that the emet gets people to wake up. The difficulty is that sometimes people can take parts of the emet and put their biyuf on it, their shiur on it, and it'll sound like it's good. It'll sound like, oh, this makes sense. If you remember, some time ago, I told you about the growth in the Muslim world. Even though they already have almost 2 billion people, they are growing faster than cancer. They're growing. I mean, it's unbelievable how fast they're growing, and it's not because of the massive size that they have already, but rather because of how important their version of Kiruv, Dawa, is to them. Where literally you see the average Muslim, doesn't have to be someone that's a scholar, doesn't have to be someone that's rich, doesn't have to be somebody that's well known, doesn't have to be anything. But the average Muslim does their version of Kiruv to such an extent that each one of them brings more and more people to their house of heresy in their to read their Quran. And they make it seem so pleasing, so pleasant. They donate an enormous amount of money. They have all types of events, and they make it look, from the outside perspective, they make it look very appealing. Unfortunately, most people rely on the speaker for their knowledge. They don't study on their own. Most of them don't study on their own, and even if they study on their own, they study only the things that are they're told to study. And this type of, people thought that maybe I'm being fanatic. What am I, picking a fight with every single thing that moves? The reality is that if we don't fight against sheker, we already lost the battle. And sheker exists everywhere. And this dawah that's happening in the Muslim world is not in Indonesia only. It's not only in Saudi Arabia. It's not only in Europe, in France, in England. It's not just there. It's in America. So much so that I got one of my students, he sent me a video the other day. It was a documentary, 15-minute documentary, that I couldn't, I watched it from beginning to end, and in awe. Right now in Texas, they have the biggest Spanish, biggest Latino Muslim congregation in the world. They literally have converted a quarter million or more people in the United States. And they've literally built a Latino community of Muslims. They're focusing specifically on this community. And you see their whole organization, their mosque, millions and millions of dollars. Their studio for their videos, at least $150,000 is in that room. I mean, you see the stuff they have, it looks really appealing. Only problem is it's all shekel. It's all lies. But the people don't know. Why? Because it sounds appealing, it sounds good. They tell them, no, we're not terrorists, we're not this, we're not... So why am I telling you all this? Why am I telling you all this? Because I noticed, trying to follow this whole situation, I noticed there's actually a lot of, recently, a few Muslims that actually been watching our lectures, and they like them. Even though I insult them sometimes, they like them still, they still watch it. Some of them try to convert me. They send me their Quran every other day. And they want to have a debate with me. But they like the lectures. They watch the lectures, these Muslims. Why? Because the tool that the Muslims are using to get people to come to Islam is MUSSAR. That's what they're teaching them. They're teaching them, be good to your wife. Be good to your kids. Don't do bad things. Don't go out drinking. Don't eat food that's not allowed, like pig. They teach them how to be ethical people. I mean, in the back, they teach them about terrorism. That's after you're in it already for 10, 15 years. But in the beginning, when you're the guy getting you into the system to get excited and change your life, what they teach you? Teach you to be a better person. And only the crazy fanatics, they end up becoming the terrorists and the psychopaths. But on the grand scheme of things, they're recruiting 250,000 people in the U.S. in a Latino community that who would have thought that would even be a possibility? How? They teach you to be, listen, leave your gangster life in the past. Start new. How? By being a better human being. How can I be a better human being? We'll teach you. Don't steal. Work on your character traits. Do this, do that. And it's unbelievable how mamash the goyim are using our book. They're using our teachings. And we're not. I have several students all over the country that try to arrange me lectures, but since the largest, most popular parts of Orthodoxy today is Chabad. And many of my students, end up going to Chabad because that's what they have in their community in, I don't know, Nebraska or something, or different places around the world. It's not like, the cities like New York and Florida and LA where you have many regular traditional Orthodox shuls. So many places have Chabad. So many of my students constantly tell me the same story, and it's not a surprise anymore. In Arizona, in this place, in that place, same thing. Like, listen, I want to put your CDs there. They won't let me. Why not? I said, no, we don't teach MUSSAR here. We don't teach MUSSAR in Chabad. I want to bring you here to give a lecture. I told them that you're coming for free and I'll even pay for the flight. They said no. Why? Because we don't teach MUSSAR here. We don't teach MUSSAR here. People think I have something against Chabad. The reality is the opposite. I love Chabad. But real Chabad. Real Chabad. Real Chabad, by the way, you should know, in case you haven't listened to the last 160 shiurim, real Chabad is all about MUSSAR. The Tanya is what? Is one of the foundations of MUSSAR. It's one of the foundations of MUSSAR. Chassidut is the ultimate MUSSAR. You're doing above and beyond what's necessary. So how come they're saying that we're not teaching MUSSAR? Because they're not learning even their own books. Even their own books they're not learning. If they would have learned their own books, they would be teaching about Gehinnom more often than I do. Because it's in their books. So, the key today to understand is that if anyone that wants the emet, they're going to find it. They're going to find it regardless of which part of the world you live in, regardless of where you come from, regardless of whether you're male or female, young or old. But the only way, I talked to one of my dear friends, Rabbi Zitron, today, and we had a nice conversation, and then we came to an agreement that the reality is now, from our perspective, Baruch Hashem, I don't know how many lectures, I have quite a few. He, Baruch Hashem, has quite a few lectures. He's been doing it even longer than I have. He's doing it for almost 10 years. And Shrav Asher Chelko and his Eshet Chai that lets him do mamash 4 or 5 shulim every week, Baruch Hashem. And meaning there's a lot of experience in between the two. Then we also have our rabbis that have their own experience. And everybody has the same exact thing to say. Baruch Hashem, everybody has some Baalei Teshuva. Everybody has students. Everybody has their ups and downs and so on. But everyone came up to the same agreement. Without strong mussar, there is no tshuva. It's just not. Maybe the nice guy that's smiling to you like a Santa Claus, he may get you to keep a mitzvah for this week. He may get you to come to a Shabbaton. He may get you to put on tefillin whenever he comes to your office. But tshuva is not that. That's a mitzvah. Tshuva is a lifestyle change. Tshuva is a mindset change. Tshuva is an ideology change. Tshuva is taking the old you, throwing it in the garbage, and trying to be an Eved Hashem. A servant of Hashem, a slave of Hashem. Why? It's good for you. That's tshuva. And for whatever reason or another, people have this obsession with keeping the public ignorant. Like they're dying to keep everybody ignorant, just to stay the same, don't change. And this is one of the things we're going to learn also from this week's Parashah. This week's Parashah has some secrets about such people. Has secrets about such behavior. So much so that the root of all of the disasters that have ever happened to Klal Israel starts from this. The Parashah in Mishpatim says, Ki tetze esh umatzah kotzim v'ne'echal gadish or akama or asadeh shalem eshalem ha'mevair et ha'be'era. It says in chapter 22 of this week's Parashat Mishpatim, Sefer Shmot, Exodus, verse number 5. It talks about a din, talks about a law. If a fire shall go forth and find thorns, and a stack of grain, or a standing crop, or a field is consumed, the one who kindled the fire shall make restitution. In so many words, what the halacha is, this Parashat Mishpatim has no end to the amount of halachot, thousands and thousands of halachot you can learn from this parasha. All of the business halachot here, all of mamash, endless amount of dinim. Here he's telling you something simple. Somebody lit a cigarette, threw a cigarette on the floor, but it still had fire on it. And next thing you know, things went on fire. He didn't mean to. But he threw it. He was careless. Or he had a little barbecue. And sometimes you have to like go to get the fire going. And he did a little bit too much, and the fire started going outside of the barbecue. And it burned the crop. It burned the house. It burned something. So, but I didn't mean to. Okay, you didn't mean to. The damage was done anyway. You have to pay for it. Yeah, but I didn't mean to. Didn't mean to. It's good you didn't mean to. It's good. But you still have to pay for it. I didn't mean to go against Hashem. It's good you didn't mean to, but you still have to go. You went against Hashem. I didn't mean to speed 190 miles an hour, officer. Okay, yeah, it's good you didn't mean to, but you're still going to jail for speeding 130 miles over the limit. It's good you didn't mean to. Thank you for telling us you didn't mean to. It doesn't make a difference. There's an outcome to your actions. That's the law. But then the Gemara tells us, in the Gemara Bava Kama, page 68, that there's a teaching within the teaching that Chazal teaches us. Amar Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Yonatan tells us, En pur'anut ba'a la'olam, אלא בזמן שהרשעים בעולם, ואינה מתחלת אלא מן הצדיקים calamity, disaster, tsunamis, earthquakes, wars, awful things that none of us even want to think about, let alone live. All calamity, not just some of them, all of it. Calamity befalls the world only when the Reshaim still exist in the world. But the calamity, the disaster, the tsunami, the war, the pogrom, AIDS, cancer, all of these things, this calamity only begins with the righteous first. That's what the Gemara says. It exists only because of the Reshaim, but it starts with the tzaddikim. Shene'emar, ki tetzeh esh amatzah kotzi v'nechal gadish. Say, we learn this from this pasuk. Esh, fire, is the disaster. Fire is the disaster. The kotzim is the reshaim. Kotzim is like the thorns. That's the reshaim. But the crop, the grain, the field is consumed with it. That's the tzaddikim. And Chachamim say, Rabbi Yonatan says, the field that's holding all of this, the field that's holding the kotzim, the field that's holding the thorns, that's the tzaddikim. It wouldn't have been consumed if the thorn wasn't there. Meaning, if the tzaddikim made an effort to eliminate the reshaim, then they wouldn't have went on fire themselves. How do we eliminate the reshaim? There's only two ways. If they're Amalek, we have to kill them. We don't know who's Amalek. What's the other option? Rebuke them, get them to do tshuva. They're not going to be reshaim, they're going to be tzaddikim. You don't want to rebuke them, you're going to die with them. You want to get them to do tshuva, you want to keep them reshaim? Okay, you get punished. This is what happened, the Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat, this is what happened in the Bet HaMikdash. We read on Tefillah on Mondays and Thursdays after the Tachnun, Anshe Emunah Avadu. Amar Abaye, Anshe Emunah Avadu. Abaye, one of the Amoraim, one of the sages that's in practically every page in the Gemara, says, why did Hashem destroy the Bet HaMikdash? When? When did he decide that it's official, that's it, I'm done with it? He says when there was no more Anshe Emet, no one wanted to rebuke anymore. Hashem decided, that's it, I'm finished. Why? If there's no one to rebuke, then there's no way to do tshuva. If there's no one to tell people the truth that hurts sometimes, then no one's going to do tshuva. If no one's going to do tshuva, I have to destroy it. That's it. There's no other way. As long as there was a Moshe Rabbeinu, as long as there was a Rabbi Akiva, as long as there was somebody that was going to tell people the emet, Hashem said, I'll give him more time. 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 But once there was no Anshe Emunah, once there was no more people of truth, no more people that stood for the emet, Hashem says there's no hope. I have to give the emet, but the way I give the emet, Hashem says it hurts. It's fire. It's a consuming fire, Hashem. It's a consuming fire. Klal Yisrael needs to know that to get people to do tshuva, to do kiruv, you're not saving the other person. You're saving yourself. You're saving your children. You're saving your community. You're saving the next generation. You're even saving the goyim. You're saving the world. Because as long as there's reshaim, there's going to be more disasters in the world. This, Rabotai, is just a small token of what this Gemara says about the bad choice that many are making, which is to keep the public ignorant. Keep them reshaim. Keep them mechaleh Shabbat. Keep them wasting seed. Keep them ignorant of how expensive the sin really is. When a person doesn't know that he'll lose olam haba for making certain sins, guess what? He'll continue making them. If you tell him, listen, I know you like to go to clubs on Shabbat. I know you like it. It's fun for you, right? But you shouldn't do it. Why? Why shouldn't I do it, Kvod Harav? Why? Because, you should spend time with your family. Well, to be honest with you, Kvod Harav, I'm not married. I got a new family every day. Every day I have a new girlfriend. So I'm going to see my family in the club. No, I didn't mean that family. I mean your father and your mom. Oh, they're like old. I don't want to hang out with my mom and dad. I hang out with them. I have kiddush with my mom and dad. But that's it. I'm finished. By 8 o'clock, they're going to sleep. So I go to my other family in the clubs. It's not going to work telling them you should spend with your family. It's not going to work. So what are you going to tell them? No, you know what? You should keep Shabbat. You know why you should keep Shabbat? Because if you don't keep Shabbat, it hurts Hashem. It hurts Hashem if you don't keep Shabbat. So to tell you, you believe in Hashem. The half a goy is going to tell you this. The secular person is going to tell you this. He doesn't know. Chilul Shabbat is the equivalent to idolatry. He doesn't know. So what is he saying? He says, wait, so your God, he's going to tell the rabbi, your God gets hurt? I don't believe in a God that gets hurt. My God's powerful. He'll tell you about it. He'll give you chizuk. He's like, my God's powerful. He's not hurt by me violating Shabbat. My God doesn't really care about me keeping Shabbat. He's powerful. He doesn't need me. He's good. Don't worry about it. Me and God, we're like this. He understands me. He knows I need to go to the clubs. He knows I need to go to the casino. He knows I need to look at every girl that moves. I need to look. He knows. He understands me. Those things are not going to work for this generation, Rabotai. They're not going to work for the average teenager that's addicted to wasting seed. You tell him, listen, no, it's not good for you. Why is it not good for me to waste seed? All of the teachers tell me to do it sometimes. Why is it not good for me to waste seed? Why? No, maybe you should preserve yourself for marriage. He'll look at you like you have 18 heads. What? You preserve yourself. Tell you why, you should eat kosher. Why you should eat kosher? It's better food. It's not true. You go to the Italian restaurant that's not kosher, tastes better. Well, tastes better. Why? Because maim gnuvim im taku. Stolen water are sweeter. You go to the Italian restaurant, they're serving you pork and shrimp and garbage of the world, but it's going to taste better to you. Why? Maim gnuvim im taku. Shlomo HaMelech said, stolen water are sweeter, meaning the sin always tastes better. You tell him it tastes better, he's not going to buy it. Why? Because last time he had a bacon, egg, and cheese, it tasted good. So you tell him it doesn't taste good? Liar. Rabban Gamliel said that. Rabban Gamliel said in the Gemara Masechet Menachot, he says, don't tell people that you don't want to sin. You're a liar. You want to sin. Tell them I'm not sinning because my Father in heaven said no. That's why I'm not sinning. Not because the sin is not tasty. So you telling him, hey, listen, eat kosher food because it's better. It's not true. You can't tell him it's cheaper because it's not. What are you going to tell him? Because Moshe Rabbeinu ate kosher food. What are you going to tell him? Without telling Klal Israel that there's a punishment for sins that's severe, that's eternal, that's enormous, that puts all of the little bit of suffering they have in this 70, 80, 90 years of their life to shame. It's so much bigger. Without telling them that, people will not do real tshuva. You may get a few of them to do mitzvot, but not tshuva. Because tshuva requires, as the Rambam says, 4 steps. 1, stop sinning. 2, commit to not stop sinning. 3, regret the sin. And 4, get to a level where Hashem vouches for you and you're not going to go back to the sin. Now, unless you know that the sin is disgusting, and it's costly, and it's genom, and it's suffering, and it's bad, and so on, you're never going to get to step number 3. Maybe you'll get to step number 1 by stopping to drive on Shabbat because maybe you want a day off of work. Maybe you're going to get to the point where you say, you know what, I like keeping Shabbat, so I'm not going to drive anymore. So you've committed to not doing it. But you're never going to get to step number 3 of regretting all the Chilul Shabbat that you did in your life. Why? because you made a life choice that has to do more with your brain than it does with your neshama. It made sense to you to keep Shabbat because it's a day off of work with family and so on. Not because God said it. And that's what the Rambam says even for the Goyim. He says, if a Goy keeps Sheva Mitzvot B'nei Noach, he keeps the 7 Noahide laws, he has a share of the world to come under one condition. What's the condition? If he kept those 7 Noahide laws because God said so. But if he only kept those laws because they made sense to him, not only does he not have a share of the world to come, but he's considered one of the fools among the world. Rambam's language. Why? You did all the work, but you got nothing for it. So if a goy can get olam haba for keeping the few mitzvot, or lose olam haba for simply making a rational decision to say, I'll keep them, but not because God said it. Not because there's punishment if I don't. Just because it makes sense to me. Needless to say, a Jew that violates the laws, what is punishment does he get for violating Shabbat and for violating the laws that he's obligated to keep? And the reality is, Rabotai, is that without telling Am Yisrael that there is a punishment, they're not going to do tshuva. They'll do mitzvot, but not tshuva. You don't get to Olam Haba just for mitzvot, if those mitzvot don't include tshuva in them. That's why Rav Moshe Feinstein, alav shalom, says you're not allowed to keep any mitzvah because it makes sense to you. So he says you're not allowed to keep any mitzvah just because it makes sense to you. Not allowed. You have to keep a mitzvah because God said it. That's what you keep. These are all different aspects of the mind of what a Jew is supposed to be. And this Jew that wants to get this Keter Torah, this crown of Torah, needs to have all of what we just said as a prerequisite. Each aspect of what we just said is part of the Keter Torah. It's part of the Emet. And the Mishnah in Avot continues to instruct us over and over with different facets of this diamond that we're trying to acquire, called the crown of Torah. But without first admitting that it's all an obligation. It's all an obligation for each one to try to attain it. To work their entire life to try to attain it. Work to attain it ourselves, work to have our kids attain it. Acquire this Keter Torah. Do everything and anything possible to get our neighbors, our colleagues, our nation to attain it. Because if we're only worried about ourselves, then we're destroying ourselves. But if we start worrying about everyone, all of Klal Yisrael, then Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze Lazeh. You got somebody else do that, it'll give you chizuk. Why? You're going to see his story. You're going to start seeing him keep Shabbat. You're going to start seeing him be nicer to his wife. You're going to start seeing him go to the shiur. You're going to start seeing him learn a little bit. And even though you have a weak moment and you don't feel like it, you're like, wait a minute, I got this guy to do tshuva. He's going to go to shiur and I'm not. I got this guy to keep Shabbat. He's going to go to Beit Knesset and I'm going to go to the beach. How does that make any sense? You're going to start seeing his life change. He's going to give you chizuk. You're going to start seeing little kids, little cute Jewish kids that are doing tshuva. Why? Because their parents did tshuva. You start seeing the fruits of your labor. It gives you chizuk. You start seeing your community change. The schools change. The teachers change. The principals change. The rabbis change. Why? Because you decide to take initiative and get people to do tshuva. Sometimes getting people to do tshuva requires an enormous amount of money because you want to make a huge event. Sometimes you could do it for free by simply giving somebody a CD, giving somebody a link, inviting them to a lecture, taking them to the lecture, and so on and so forth. In reality, it requires one thing that everyone needs to have: desire. Desire to help other people. Which is where we are in the Mishnah in Avot today, where we got to נושא בעול עם חברו. גדולת תורה יותר מן הכהונה ומן המלכות, שהמלכות נקנית ב-30 מעלות. והכהונה נקנית ב-24 והתורה נקנית ב-48 דברים, ואלו הן. בתלמוד, בשמיעת האוזן, בעריכת שפתיים, בבינת הלב, בסכלות הלב, בהמה, ביראה, בענווה, בשמחת, בטהרה, בשימוש חכמים, בדקדוק חברים, בפלפול התלמידים, ביישוב, במקרא, במשנה, במיעוט סחורה, במיעוט דרך ארץ, במיעוט תענוג, במיעוט שינה, במיעוט שיחה, במיעוט צחוק, בערך אפיים, בלב טוב, באמונת חכמים, בקבלת ייסורים, המכיר את מקומו והשמח בחלקו, העושה סייג לדבריו, ואינו מחזיק טובה לעצמו, אהוב, אוהב את המקום, אוהב את הבריות, אוהב את הצדקות, אוהב את המשרים, אוהב את התוכחות, המתרחק מן הכבוד, הוא מתרחק מן הכבוד, ולא מגיס ליבו בתלמודו, ואינו שמח בהוראה, נושא בעול עם חברו, ומכריעו לכף זכות, ומעמידו על האמת, ומעמידו על השלום, ומתיישב ליבו בתלמודו. Up to there is where we're going to try to get to Be'ezrat Hashem. Translation: the Torah is even greater than priesthood and royalty. For royalty is acquired along with 30 prerogatives, 30 gifts that a king gets, and 30 different things that he needs to do, where the priesthood has 24 gifts. The Torah is acquired by means of 48 qualities, meaning 48 different things that a person needs to do, 48 different ways of toiling in order to acquire this precious, priceless diamond called Torah, the Keter Torah, the crown of Torah. And these are study, attentive listening, articulate speech, intuitive understanding and discernment, all different aspects of committing time to learning the Torah in order to get it. You're not going to get the Torah simply by thinking about it. You're going to get it by learning it. Many times people make the mistake by deciding an Halacha based on looking at somebody, where they say, listen, the rabbi's wife wears a wig, so it's okay for me to wear a wig, right? No, we don't learn based on the rabbi's wife. Because many rabbis' wives have wigs doesn't mean you're allowed to wear a wig. Someone came to Rav Tzion Abba Shaul, alav shalom, who's the chavruta of Rav Ovadia for most of his life since they were children. Both of them were Gdolei Ador. Both of them were giants. And they made sure they were studying from little kids. They used to go to yeshiva. Only Rav Ovadia's father had money to give him for the bus and the food. But Rav Tzion Abba Shaul was in such poverty, he didn't even have money for that. So what did he do? What did Rav Ovadia do as a little kid? He said, okay, the bus, this is what we do. I'll just, one ticket for me, one ticket for you. Meaning we're both going to go to school together. Both going to go to school together on the bus. On the way home, we're going to both walk together. Why? So that way we can study. That way we can study. And they studied for the rest of their life together. So much so, they made sure to buy apartments, to get apartments, to live right next to each other. One floor on top of the other. Anytime they want. You ready to study? They would bang on the ceiling. Ready? Let's go. Studying Torah. Mamash, chavruta. Real chavruta. The gift from heaven is to have a real chavruta. Gift from heaven. Chamim say chavruta is something that can get even closer than a person's spouse, the woman, his wife. Mamash. Now, despite learning all these years together, they had differences in opinions in certain things. They disagreed with each other. Doesn't mean that they have to agree with each other because they're learning together. They disagree with certain things. Rav Ovadia was very zealous against the Whigs. Very zealous against the Whigs. Rav Tzion Abba Shaul didn't like them, didn't approve them, but nonetheless, he wasn't as strong about them. He wasn't a fighter like Rav Ovadia in the same aspect. He had a different shita. But he wasn't for them, like some people think. One time he spoke against them, and one of the students said, "For the Rav, how are you talking against wigs? They're immodest, they're this, they're that. Your wife wears a wig. Kvodo's wife wears a wig." Rav Tzion Abba Shaul without a hesitation. He says, you want me to tell you what to do or what my wife does? Meaning, just because my wife does it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. Maybe she doesn't want to listen to me. Maybe she has her own... You don't learn from the rabbi's wife. You learn from books. You learn from Halacha. That's how you learn. And this is one of the biggest failures in our generation today, where people simply refuse to learn from books. They learn from some comment somebody made on Google, on the internet, and what they see in a Bet Knesset. If the rabbi talks in the middle of tefillah, that means it's allowed, it's a mitzvah to turn in the middle of tefillah. If the rabbi is late, they're late. If the rabbi is this, you don't learn. That's not the way to learn. You learn from books. You learn from Chazal. You learn from our sages. So here we have a Mishnah that tells us that if you're going to take learning seriously, you're going to pay attention. You're going to make sure you know everything well enough to teach it. Even if you're never going to teach it to the public, you need to know everything well enough to teach it. Teach it to yourself. Teach it to your children. Go over it enough time where you know, okay, you know what? I get the point. How do I know I get the point? Let me explain it out loud to myself. And hear yourself talk sometimes. Hear yourself talk. I believe it was the Chafetz Chaim. One time was traveling and stopped at a hotel, a motel. In those days, it was just pretty much a bunch of rooms. There was no fancy schmancy pools and things of that nature. Stopped at an inn to get some sleep, and he was told at the place, Rabbi Yisrael Misalant is here tonight. He's sleeping in this room. He's sleeping in a... Chafetz Chaim said, I want to sleep in the room right next to him. Right next to him. They made it happen. And the whole night, the Chafetz Chaim is just listening in to try to see, what does the Gadol Adol, Rabbi Yisrael Misalan, do at night? There's no way he sleeps like the rest of us. What does he do? What does he do? You don't become a Gadol Adol for sleeping 8 hours. What do you do then? So the whole night he's listening to him. He's listening to what's going on in the room. And he says the whole night, the room, he's pacing back and forth, going over one Mishnah. One Mishnah. The whole night. What the Mishnah is, someone doesn't make time to learn Torah, has no share of the world to come. Someone doesn't make time to learn Torah, has no share of the world to come. Someone doesn't learn Torah, make time to learn Torah, has no share of the world to come. No Olam Haba. No. Who says this? The Gadol Adol. Over and over again the whole night. With tears and crying. The whole night he's going over this Mishnah. He's giving himself Mussar. While everybody else is sleeping. That's a Mussar teaching. That's Mussar teaching. Why? That's what you do. When you realize that you have to ingrain it into yourself sometimes. You have to go over certain things until you really understand it. If the Gadol Adol needs to remind himself that he needs to make time for learning Torah, what about us? So what, you thought you knew you're supposed to make time to learn Torah? You thought you knew this Halacha? How do you know you know it? If he has to repeat it 1,000,000 times. So a person needs to know everything enough to teach it, enough to ingrain it into himself, into his mind, to his neshama. He needs to have everything based on a good foundation called awe and reverence, meaning Yirat Shamayim. Yirat Hashem iotzaro. The treasure of Hashem is Yirat Shamayim. You're afraid of him, that's worth something to Hashem. You're not afraid of him, it's worth nothing to Hashem. Why? Obviously you don't recognize your creator if you're not afraid of him. If you're afraid of him, you're recognizing who he is. Without teaching a person about the consequence of sinning, they're never going to be afraid. If you tell them, no, listen, you should be afraid of God because he's really big and really powerful and he created the world. So he's big and powerful, but last time I checked, he doesn't come to my room and say boo. Doesn't do that. So he's big and powerful, created the world. Okay, that doesn't really sound that scary, to be honest with you. There's cartoons that are big and powerful. They're cartoons, though. They're funny. What's big and powerful? What does that mean? Give me English. English, I can speak it. Give me a language. What does that mean, big, powerful? What does that mean? What does that mean? What? It means if you sin, you go to Gehenom. What? What's that Gehenom place? Where is that? Taj Mahal? Where is that? No, Gehenom is fire. Oh, conversation changes. Why? You realize big and powerful represents something. It's a nicer way of saying punishment. Everyone needs to know that punishment exists. Even the little kid needs to know that if he doesn't listen to mommy, he will get punished. If he disrespects Abba, he will get punished. If you don't tell your kids that punishment exists, guess what? You are raising little Hitlers in your house. They're all cute when they're little kids. Every kid is cute. Even Hitler himself, was cute. But without telling them that there's consequence for actions, they become big Hitlers. And they're not cute anymore. They're disastrous. And they bring disaster and shame. So on reverence, Yirat Shamayim means you need to know that there is a consequence for our actions. That will help you become modest. That will help you become humble. That will help you also become joyful and pure. Because a person will now have a purpose for everything that he does. That will also help you connect to the sages, minister to the sages. Shimush Chachamim. Why? Because you want to know all you can find out about this Father in heaven we have. And you know that they're closer to Moshe Rabbeinu than you are. Why? They know him a little longer. They studied a little longer. They read a little bit more. You want to get as much information as you can. Just like David HaMelech says, Mikol melamdai iskalti. I learned from everything I can. Big, small, doesn't make a difference. I learned from everything. Closeness with colleagues, sharp conversations with discussions with students, deliberation. These are all different ways to share the fire. Find people that are like-minded. If your friends have the opposite mind to you, guess what? They're not your friends. They're the Yetzer Hara for you. Or you're the Yetzer Hara for them. Meaning, one of you has to change in order for you to remain friends. If your friends are all atheists, most likely you're going to become an atheist. Unless you're mamash like Talmid Chacham Atzum with Yirat Shamayim like Pinchas, most likely you're going to become an atheist in a matter of time. A week, a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, eventually you're going to become an atheist. Why? Eventually your surroundings will influence you. But if your friends are not necessarily atheists, they just do whatever they want. But they respect Judaism, they respect the Torah, they go to Beit Knesset for the holidays and so on. And if you give them a little bit of mussar, they'll listen. You invite them to a shiur, once in a while they'll come. They just simply are ignorant, like most people. If you're strong, and you learn, and you have Yirat Shamayim, you could influence some of them as long as you bring them to your turf and not go to theirs. And you're able to discuss things openly. But if you have these friends, or where it's to a point where you have to walk on eggshells, you have to watch everything you say because they always get offended, you have to run away. You have to run away. If you can't talk freely with your friends, they're not your friends. Because somebody has to be influenced. If you're not able to influence, they will influence you. So if you're not able to have sharp discussions with other people, where you can talk about serious things without people getting offended, talk about serious things without people getting upset, getting angry, taking things personally, you could just talk about, this is true or it's false. You have an opinion, I have an opinion. I disagree with yours, you disagree with mine, but we're still friends. If you're not able to have such normal discussions, or what should be normal, you have to run away, you have to pick different friends. Knowledge of scripture and Mishnah. Constant reminder to learn the oral Torah and the written Torah. Why? Because even a king of Am Yisrael, a king, someone that Hashem decided he's going to be king, He's not a king. There's no election process in Am Yisrael. Hashem decides, oh, David is going to be king. Shaul, he's the king. Hashem decides. He's the Gadol Adol. He's the best of the best. So Hashem decides he's going to be the king. But this king has laws. What's his law? If you remember, we learned one of the laws the king has, he has to walk around with a Sefer Torah all the time. Why? Torah says, so he learns about Yirat Shamayim. Yeah, but he's Gadol Adol. He's the biggest rabbi in the world. Why does he need to learn? Doesn't that mean he already has Yirat Shamayim? Yirat Shamayim is not something you just have naturally. Yirat Shamayim, fear of Hashem, is something you have to work on every day. Every day. If you're not learning every day, you're not going to make it. Limited business activity, limited sexual activity, limited pleasure, limited sleep, limited conversation, limited laughter. Enjoy the world, but with limits. Don't be an animal. Don't be a person that lets himself loose and decides to drink as if he's never drunk before, and then you walk around like a disaster where you can't walk, you're thinking that you're doing a mitzvah. Oh no, I'm just having a good time. That's not a good time. When you're walking around and you can't walk because you got so drunk, but you think it's a mitzvah to have Onik Shabbat that way, it's not a mitzvah, it's an avirah. It's an avirah because a Jew is not allowed to get to a point where he's not allowed to pray. Meaning a state of mind where he's not allowed to pray, where his mind is altered. With the exception of Purim, which even then there are some that believe it has to be within up to the point of buzz, but not completely drunk. But nonetheless, even if you count Purim as a permissible time, the rest of the year is not. If you constantly drink alcohol to the point where you can't walk, if you're smoking marijuana or other types of drugs to the point where it alters your state of mind, you, my friend, have a very serious problem. Why? Because you're taking the things that Hashem put into the world for you to enjoy, but you're taking it too far. Too far. A slow to anger, a good heart, faith in sages, acceptance of suffering, all different reminders of how this Keter Torah, this crown of Torah, is only going to be acquired by those who perfect their character traits. Which character traits? The ones that you have a weakness in. People love to listen to lectures or read books about things that they're very good at. So if a person is generous, he'll love to talk about chesed. If a person has a certain thing that he's strong at, he likes to talk about it. He likes to learn about it. But that's not the point. The point is to learn about your weaknesses so you can fix them. If you are not slow to anger, but the opposite, then what you're supposed to be learning is ways to control your anger. But not control your anger like the Goyim teach, where you simply keep it to yourself. That just builds cancer. Control your anger means that you have to learn about emunah and bitachon and yirat shamayim to the point where you realize that you have no right to be angry. Yirat shamayim because you realize that if you get angry, the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says it's the equivalent of idolatry. Emunah is to understand that whatever is happening is from Hashem. Bitachon is to remind you that the same Hashem that gave you the problem will also give you the solution. So why are you angry? A good heart, faith in sages, acceptance of suffering, these are all things that, you see, these all make sense. Mussar makes sense. That's why even the Arabs are learning it. Because it makes sense to have a good heart. It even sounds good. Makes you feel good. Somebody says, wow, you have a good heart. You have a good heart, kid. I like you. Makes you feel good. But you know what a good heart is? A good heart means that you're as happy for him and for his success as you would be about yours. Faith in sages means that a person needs to know that our Torah is Torah Emet. It's from Shamayim. It's not from Bars and Nobles. The Gemara says that if a person thinks that even one letter, not a whole sentence, not a whole halacha, one letter in the Gemara, one thing that says in the Gemara is not from Shamayim, he has no share of the world to come. Why? He has no confidence in the sages. If you have no confidence in the sages, you have no confidence of the representatives of Hashem. If you have no confidence in the representatives of Hashem, you have no confidence in Hashem. Why? You're making it as if Hashem just let the world run wild and just let's see what happens. Like he didn't leave tasks in the hands of people. They're stupid people that believe, they say they believe in the written Torah, but not the oral Torah. Little do they know that there is no such thing. There is no separation between the two. If you don't believe in one, you don't believe in the other. Because you cannot understand the written Torah without the oral Torah. You cannot understand it. Every child that went to a little bit of Hebrew school knows that we got the Torah at Mount Sinai. Everyone knows. But if you look through the entire Torah, it never says that Hashem spoke to Moshe at Mount Sinai. Doesn't say that. So how do we know he got it at Mount Sinai? Because of the mitzvah of Shemitah. The mitzvah of Shemitah, it says Hashem gave this mitzvah to Moshe at Al Sinai. So Chamim say, how come it says the Shemitah we got at Al Sinai, but it doesn't say Shabbat at Al Sinai, it doesn't say Nidah at Al Sinai, it doesn't say all the other things at Al Sinai? Rashi al Makom explains, he says, we understand that we got all of the mitzvot at the same time. Which means that if we got Shemitah at Mount Sinai, needless to say, we got the rest of the mitzvot at Mount Sinai. But Hashem is not going to waste all those extra words where every single time He tells us a mitzvah, we got this at Mount Sinai, that at Mount Sinai, that at Mount Sinai. You got the point. All you need to do is mention it once. And you have the oral Torah to explain to you, if it mentioned it once, that means it's applicable to the rest of them. But without having the oral Torah, you're not going to know all of this. Needless to say, you're not going to know how to fulfill the mitzvot. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, make tefillin, put them around your arm, put them around your head. What's tefillin? How do we know what tefillin looks like? How do we know they're black? How do we know what kind of animal? Maybe I want to make it out of lion skin. Maybe I want to make it out of pig skin, like a football. What? Why can't I make that? Why? Because the Halacha says you can. It has to be a animal that's kasher. Why? Maybe I want them to, paint my tefillin pink. To be really shiny, put some sparkles on it. No, you can't. Why? They have to be black. Why? Because you look at the Halacha, it says it has to be black. How do we know? Aside from it being in the books, how do we know this is from Shamayim? Because it doesn't matter where the Jews were throughout the last couple of thousand years. Once Eretz Yisrael came together, modern Israel came together, many Jews came from the exile and came to Eretz Yisrael. They came from all different walks of life, all different corners of the world. And every one of them brought their Sefer Torah. Every one of them brought their tefillin. Every one of them brought their talit. Everybody brought their Torah. Guess what? It was all the same. No one had a tefillin that was pink. No one had a tefillin that had sparkles on it. No one had a tefillin that was round. Everyone was square. No one had 3 tefillin. Everyone had 2. One for the arm, one for the head. Which means that no matter where you were, the Torah stayed the same. Even though the guy from Kuwait didn't know about the guy in Europe. And the guy in Europe didn't know about the guy in Australia. The guy in Australia didn't know about the guy in America. Nobody knew about each other. They didn't have modern technology like today. But yet when they all arrived at Eretz Yisrael, they all had the same Torah. You don't have the oral Torah, you have nothing. Once a person has oral Torah, once a person understands that everything is from Shamayim, the problems in life, the suffering of life becomes easier to accept. Why? Because you know this too is from Shamayim. This too, this suffering too is from Shamayim. Where do we know this from? Your Torah. It tells us many, many things about suffering. One of my students in Atlanta, Baruch, asked me a wonderful question. I mean, it's a question that I've answered before extensively, but I'll answer it briefly. The question is the same question that Moshe Rabbeinu asked. Gemara Masechet Brachot, I believe. How come there's tzaddik vera lo, rasha v'tov lo? There's a righteous person that has difficulty and a wicked person that looks like he's having a good time. The Gemara talks about it as an enormous amount of information about this question. Simply said, suffering comes to the world for multiple reasons. One reason is because person made sins. Yeah, but what if he's a tzaddik? Okay, but there's no such thing as a tzaddik who doesn't sin. He could have sinned earlier in his life. He could have sinned yesterday. He could have sinned 20 years ago, and Hashem didn't punish him right away. Or perhaps he could have sinned in his previous Gilgul. That's why he's here. He's here because he's a reincarnation of a neshama that didn't complete its mission. So sometimes the suffering will come because of a sin from their previous incarnation. Sometimes Hashem gives suffering to a person, even if they're righteous, in order to elevate them. As he says in Sefer Dvarim, Hashem brings suffering to Am Yisrael. Why? Because he loves them. He rebukes those that he loves. How is that showing? How is that love? He's training you. He's training you by giving you difficulties. Why? Because life in general is a mission of overcoming obstacles. You're not going to become a better version of you without overcoming obstacles. There was one time a group of old Americans with a lot of money who decided to go visit the camps, the different training grounds for the IDF, for the Israeli army. And each one of these people had the pen and the paper and the bank account to write a few $1,000,000 with no problem. So they were seeing the training ground, they were seeing the camp, they were seeing the barracks, they were seeing the weapons, they were seeing everything. And they saw the Israeli soldiers training. And they saw how they're struggling, going through mud, and then climbing a wall, and then jumping and falling and getting hurt, and crawling, and all types of things. Until one of the old ladies said, no, stop, please, stop it. And the general said, yes, what happened? He says, listen, I'm willing to give a check right now for $2 million. For $2 million. For you to let these boys rest. And not do all this, not hurt themselves anymore. I can't take it. He says to her, thank you for the offer. But if we don't let them get hurt, and we don't let them train, and we don't let them struggle, then the damage will be much, much greater than the $2 million can buy. Their lives will be lost. Because they won't survive the battle. That's much more difficult than the training. Every normal person knows that they need to overcome obstacles. But yet when it comes to life obstacles, we complain about the obstacle. You need the obstacle. He knows why you need it, much more than you know why you need it. The key is not to complain about the obstacle. The key is to try to delve into the obstacle and see, what is Hashem telling me through this difficulty? Oh, I'm worried about money. So what is Hashem telling me about the fact that I'm worried about money? I'm worried about health. Why is Hashem telling me about this health? And so on and so forth. That's another reason of why Hashem gives a person obstacles. And suffering and agony and so on. And then one other reason, there are many other reasons I can tell you, but we'll leave it at that. But there's one other reason. MUSSAR Pirkei Avot has a question, has a conversation between Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem, why do you do certain things? Why do you give good to the bad people? They're bad. Punish them. Hashem says, I'll do whatever I want. I don't have to tell you. That was his answer. I can choose to give good to whoever I want. Even the Rasha. That's the answer. Beginning, middle, end. No other explanation. There are explanations I can give you why he gives the Rasha good, which is to destroy him. There are explanations I can give you why he gives, bad to the good person because it's an obstacle and so on. But Tachlis, bottom line, because he knows what he's doing and he doesn't have to explain himself. He's God with the creation. That's the only reason a person needs to know. The rest of it is just trying to give rationale to the Almighty, which is not something you can put into a box and limit. So when a person is looking to get this Keter Torah, this crown of Torah, one of the things he needs or she needs to work on daily is to stop complaining. Stop complaining. I know it's a lot of fun to complain. I know misery loves company, not just likes. Misery loves company. And everyone loves to talk about their complaints. I mean, it sometimes seems like I'm complaining, but in reality, I'm just trying to teach you. Sometimes I really am complaining though. But it's a natural thing for us to complain. We have to stop complaining. We have to stop complaining. Why? Because you're missing the point if you're complaining. If the complaints has some type of purpose, it's like, oh, listen, this guy, he didn't pay me on time. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you, don't do business with him because he's a thief. Yes, it is technically a complaint that he didn't pay me on time and he didn't pay me at all. It is a complaint, but that's not the reason why I'm telling you. The reason why I'm telling you is so you watch out for that guy. You don't do business with him because he's a thief. Someone that knows his place, being happy with his lot. Making a protective fence around his personal matters and claiming no credit for himself. These all have something to do with humility, with knowing where we stand, with aspiration, and even with ambition. Know where you stand, not in order to get depressed that you're nothing in comparison to what you're supposed to be, but rather in order to get the push that, okay, you know what, I can do better. Why? Hashem decided to put me into the world, which means that He decided the world cannot exist without me. I can bring something good to the world, something that's part of Hashem's almighty plan. This alone should make a person happy with a share, regardless of how ugly his share looks. Because that's the share Hashem gave you. Someone needs to have the ugly share. Someone needs to have the big share. Someone needs to have the small share. Whatever share you have, if you believe in Hashem, be happy with it. Why? Because that's the one He says, you need to make this one look good. You need to make this one look good. You need to serve me with this share. Not with the other share. A lot of people ask for a lot more than what they have. Why? Because they figured they could serve Hashem much better with somebody else's share. No, if Hashem gave me more money, then I can give a lot more tzedakah. If Hashem gave me a bigger house, then I can host a lot more people. Do you ever think maybe Hashem doesn't want you to? Do you ever think that? Or maybe you think that maybe Hashem doesn't know. And you believe in the wrong God. Maybe Hashem doesn't want you to have more. Why? He wants you to give from what you have, from your share now, not the share you're imagining to have in the future. He wants you to host people in your little box, not in the mansion that you're imagining. He wants you to do chesed with just $5 that you have and the 3 donuts. That's what He wants you to give a share from that. Not from the bank account of Rockefeller. That He gave to Rockefeller, not to you. Share from there. This is what a person needs to know. Be happy with that share. You can serve Hashem with that share. You can sanctify His name with that share. Protect it. Protect yourself. Protect your neshama from these illusions. Many, many people that I meet today that are young are living these illusion life where they believe that they're meant to be this big famous person that has control and has this and has that. And literally they live an imaginary life. And it's very sad that they grow up and they end up being miserable and more miserable and more miserable. Why? because they can't find a woman, because no woman is good enough for them. She can't find a man because no man is good enough for her. No job is good enough because no job can acknowledge them for how good they are. So they're always unemployed or in between jobs. No one knows how good I am. No one appreciates me for what I am, and so on and so forth. So they can never get a job. They never get a spouse. They can never have a life until they wake up. They're 89 years old. It's like, I wasted my life. Yeah, it's too late, buddy. You know how many people I know already in their 40s and still single? You know how sad it is? Sad. You see good-looking guys, good-looking women, people that are beautiful, but they can't find a husband. They can't find a wife. Why? Shidduch crisis? Imaginary. There's no shidduch crisis. There's no shidduch crisis. There's midot crisis. People don't know how to behave. They evaluate themselves much higher than they deserve, and they evaluate everyone else much lower than they deserve. They think they're better than everybody else. No one is good enough for them. No one is pretty enough for them. No one is handsome enough for them. No one is rich enough for them. Everyone is stupid. Everyone is low. Everyone is this. What does this mean? All it means is they have a huge ego and nothing else to show for it. And that's why they're going to be alone and miserable forever, unless they change themselves. Don't tell me, no, I can't find a shidduch. It's false. You can find a shidduch. You just don't want it. You don't want it. I'm not talking about someone that's 19 or 20, just started. I'm talking about someone that's already in it, looking for 5, 10, 15 years. Some of my friends from high school, they're already in their 40s. Already in their 40s, 42, 45, 47, single as mamash, like a bowling ball. Nothing. But they have a new girlfriend every month. This is the one. No, it's not. This is the one. No, it's not. It's the one. No, it's not. Everyone's the one. This is the one, this is the one, this is the one. Then it's not. Why? Because they don't stop looking everywhere else and they don't know how to be happy with what they have. Rabotai, there's someone out there for everyone. God said it. We need to fix ourselves, and that's how we're going to appreciate the gifts that Hashem gives us. We need to get to a point where our character traits are so good, it makes us beloved, meaning people want to learn from us. They want to be with us. They want to be part of our life. We are magnetic to other people. Not because you're looking to be popular and you're a popularity contest constantly, because you tell people jokes or because you tell them what they want to hear. No, because people aspire to be like you. She's got it going on. She's got something. Look, she's always happy. She's always smiling. She's got a good job. She's got a good husband. She's got good kids. Something. She's doing something right. She's not part of every community, group that talks nonstop. She's just got her own life, but she looks happy with her life. Why? I want to know. I want to know. So you find out. You befriend this person. You don't befriend the most popular person in the community. That's usually the most miserable, by the way. You befriend the one that doesn't really care one way or another whether they're part of anything or not. They just do their job in order to serve Hashem, in order to help their own family. But yet those people there's always people that want to be friends with them. There's always people that want more of their time. Why? Because people know this, they're doing something right. Loving the omnipresent, meaning loving Hashem, and understanding that He's everywhere, loving His creatures, loving the righteous ways, loving justice, loving reproof. These are all different traits that Hashem wants us to have. He wants us to love all of His creations, find good things about everything, even if it's sometimes not 100% kosher. Even if the Jew himself is not 100% kosher, he's still a mechalel Shabbat. He's still not exactly honest in his business. But does he have anything good in him, or is he complete rasha? People are very quick to call everyone else evil. They may be rashaim as far as mitzvot, but they're not necessarily all evil. For the most part, most of Klal Yisrael are not fulfilling the Torah, not because they're evil, chas v'shalom. It's because they're ignorant. But that's a big part of the fault of the rabbis that refuse to teach them. And their parents that refuse to teach them. and the schools that teach them wrong things, and the community that refuses to allow good teachers to come in. It's a systematic failure. Doesn't give them a get out of jail free card, because Hashem still put a piece of himself in each Jew, which is just enough for you to go yearn for the truth and look for it and aspire for it and work for it, just like you work for a career. But nonetheless, if a person that did Teshuva, he can't look at all of his, look at his own parents as, oh, these people are Reshaim, Reshaim. Every other day I get somebody else to tell me about their parents being Reshaim. First and foremost, unless your parents are mamash idol worshippers, missionaries, Nazis, you have no right calling them Reshaim. At the very least, don't say anything. Why? You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. If your parents decided that, you know what, we don't want to have a baby, let's have an abortion like a few million people do every year. Let's have an abortion, it's just a pill. Just a little pill. Just a little appointment. If you were an abortion, you wouldn't be here to say they're Reshaim. So at the very least, be quiet. Even if they're Reshaim, be quiet. What is it going to do for you? Say they're Reshaim. What's it going to do for you? What do you get out of it? You don't like them. They're bad to you. Whatever. They did something you don't like. You disagree on something? Okay, leave. Leave. Go on your life, go on your merry way, you ungrateful human being. That's it. But to spend, I see at least 5 to 10 people a week send me their emails or their messages about how much they hate their parents. It's very hard to deal with people like this. Why? Because it's first of all, it's very, very rare for people that are part of Am Yisrael to be pure evil to that extent, like people describe them. And second of all, if a person viewed themselves with a magnifying glass, like they view other people with a magnifying glass, they would also agree that they're also Reshaim sometimes. So, before you judge other people, judge yourself. Judge yourself. Don't go out there and start judging every single person. When you rebuke people, you're not judging them. You're just giving them advice. I'm not judging you, not calling you the names. Doesn't change my opinion of you, but I'm telling you that what you're doing is considered disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. You walking around half naked, it's considered disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. You flaunting your Ferrari in a parking lot, it's disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. Acting with gava is disgusting. Immodesty is disgusting. Homosexuality, disgusting. There are certain things that are disgusting to Hashem. How do I know? He said it in his Torah. I'm just telling you, you're acting disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. Why? I love you. I love you, and I don't want you to be disgusting in the eyes of the only thing that matters in the world. But rebuke has to come through love. Loving to receive it and loving to give it. If you only love to give it, don't give it. Because that just means that you just like telling people what to do. No one likes rebuke, but you have to love it. No one likes receiving rebuke, but you have to love it. Meaning, you have to be honest enough with yourself to know that when you're getting rebuke, you're getting it from your Father in heaven, or He just sent the messenger to do it. Because you're not a prophet. If your wife is yelling at you first thing in the morning, if your husband doesn't want to pick up the phone throughout the whole day because he doesn't want to talk to you, if your kids are saying things that they shouldn't be saying, if all of these employees that you have all of a sudden don't want to say good morning, if all of your customers don't want to do business with you, if all of the bad things that happen to you wherever you go, guess what? God's doing all of it. He's just sending all of those people as a way to rebuke you. Because if He spoke to you Himself, you would die on the spot. Because you can't handle the voice of Hashem. So He's sending you a softer voice. Sounds like your wife sometimes. Sounds like your husband or your kid. or your boss, or customer. So if you love the rebuke, that's only because you know where it's coming from. Keep far away from honor, keep far away from arrogance, even if it's from learning. Don't get to a point where you're enjoying the halachic decision making, meaning that it's easy for you to make an halachic decision. These are all points of emet. How honest are you with yourself? Are you really doing what you're doing because you like the way people treat you? Do you dress the way you dress, where you're wearing that streimel, or you're wearing that beard that's extra long, or you're doing this and you do that because people call you rabbi? Or people call you tzaddik? Or you're doing it because Hashem said so? Did you make all that extra delicious food for Shabbat because you want to show off to the neighbors that are coming over of how good of a cook you are? Or did you do it because Hashem said it's a mitzvah to have oneg Shabbat? If you're doing it for your neighbors, it's not a mitzvah. If you're doing it for Hashem, it's a mitzvah. A lot of times we do things for people. We do things to persuade them to think better of us. Anytime you do that, it's not a mitzvah, and most likely it's an avirah. And if it's not an avirah mamash, it's the beginning of one. Because you're trying to influence people to think of you better than what you are, which means that you think you deserve something more than what you are. Think you're entitled, like this generation. And sometimes people have this imaginary mind that they start talking and acting as if they deserve a lot more, and so on. And Shlomo HaMelech says, Nesiim veruach v'geshem ayin. Ish mitalel b'matat sheker. Like clouds and winds without rain, so is the one who lauds himself for a false gift. In Proverbs 25:14, Shlomo HaMelech says the following. He says, just like there's a lot of clouds and wind, and in Mamash it looks like Hurricane Katrina's coming back. Looks like there's clouds and there's like a lot of stuff going on, but then in the end, there's not even rain. Nothing. Just some rain. There was some cloud. There was some clouds. There was some wind, but the real storm never came. This is symbolic of a person that makes all types of noise. What do you know? You know who I am. You know who I am. You know who I know. You know who my father is. You know how many things I did. And in the end, he doesn't know anything. Nothing. He has nothing to show for it. You say, give a chidush. You have a chidush? You have something, some new insight? You invented something? You did something to the world? What? No, go ahead. Okay, you're saying your father, your grandfather. Okay, no, yalla, let's go. Give me a chidush I never heard before. Go ahead. He starts giving you some gematria of a gematria, and he starts giving you a math calculation. No, I asked for chidush. Chidush, some new insight that could change lives. Not seasoning. The Mishnah in Avot says the gematria is parpeot lechokhma. It's like seasoning. I don't want the seasoning. I want the meat. I want the real chidush. Give me something that's going to change my life. Tell me what Rabbi Akiva says. Tell me what Rabbi Akadosh says. Tell me something. No, you said you wrote a book. You did something. You know this. You know that one. Your father's a rabbi. Your father's a plumber. Whatever your father is. What about you? Show me something. You see the guys that are so loud, usually when it comes push to shove, nothing. Nothing to say. Nothing to say. Nothing. You see the guy who wrote a book, 300 pages of nothing. 300 pages to explain to you something he could have said in 3 sentences. Maybe that much even. But no one's going to buy a book for 3 sentences. To sell it on some website, he has to write 300 pages, but 300 pages of mamash, absolutely nothing. You know how many books are published with absolutely nothing? Nothing. Mamas, zero, zero, zero. All they do is they read a few books, they steal their ideas and write it like as if it's their original idea. Zero creativity. Baruch Hashem, we don't watch any movies for years now, but even the movies today, zero creativity. No one has an original idea already for 30 years. All they're doing is making a remake of movies that came up with 30 years ago. Ideas that have already been around for 50 years. Zero. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing to show for it. Just like all the wind and the clouds. In the end, no rain. In the end, no chokhmah. In the end, no Torah. In the end, nothing. Just a loud little chihuahua. A person that wants to have this keter Torah needs to move forward with the next part, which is noseh be'ol im chavero, sharing in his fellow's yoke. What does that mean? It means it literally and it means it figuratively. A person helps other people in any way that he can. Whether it's physically, financially, emotionally. If a person wants to have this keter Torah, he has to do chesed the way chesed needs to be done. Meaning, don't be one of these people that offers help only the way you want to give it. If you really want to help somebody, then say, how can I help? Not, by the way, if you need somebody to just sit in your chair and fill in your spot, give a lecture for you, I'll do it for you. But if you need somebody to do anything else, don't call me. That's not help. That's just that's not real chesed. Why? Because when a person wants to share his fellow's yoke, when he wants to really do real chesed, he's bringing himself to a state of mind where he feels his friend's pain. And he's now getting to a point where he's willing to do whatever is necessary simply to help. He's interested to help for the sake of helping. Not because he's going to get an interest out of it. Not because he's going to get money out of it. Not because he's going to get fame out of it. Not because he's going to tell everybody else, hey, by the way, you know who helped the rabbi? Who else? Who else helped the rabbi? Who built the synagogue? Do I have to say? Do I have to say? Who do I have to say? I have to say. Sometimes a person helps and he makes sure everybody knows he helped. Everybody knows he helped. What, you think the chulent cooked itself? For the whole shul I cooked. Me! You guys are probably sleeping. I was worrying about the chulent. And the people, they tell everybody else how they help and they help and they help and they help. It's better off they didn't help. With such help, it's better off they didn't help. Because that's not caring for your friend. That's not caring for the community. That's not caring for the rabbi. That's not even caring for your spouse. Many times, marriages have problems because of bad communication. It's not even lack of communication. It's just bad communication. Where instead of trying to help each other, instead of focusing all of your attention and energy to find a way to help your spouse. Find a way, how can I help my wife today? Not, what does she need? Like, if she asks you for something, then you'll do it. But you're waiting for her. If she didn't ask, that means she didn't need it. If she didn't ask, that means she didn't need it. It's wrong. You have to, if you're a good husband, you have to look, what can I do to help my wife? How can I ease this difficulty she has? Oh, you know what? Sounds like she's having a difficulty with the kids. You know what? Honey, I'll take care of them for the next half hour. You go do what you got to do, take care of yourself, take a break, go to sleep, do what you want. I'll take care of them for a half hour. Why? Because you know that if you don't do it once in a while, she's going to lose her mind. She needs a half-hour break. I'm not saying for 5 years. I'm not saying, honey, go on vacation to Cancun and come back in 5 years after you're all well and done. Once in a while, you see, she's stressed out. She's this. The kids are rowdy. So you need a little bit of a change. Honey, you know what? Take a break. I'll take it from here. Give me a half hour. Go, half hour. Why? That's also a mitzvah. It's also a mitzvah. One of the Rosh Kollels in Yerushalayim, before Pesach, gathered all of his students, all of his avrechim. He said to them, I want to know who here is interested in helping widows in the community and do chesed before Pesach. Of course, all of the avrechim, tzaddikim, all of them raised their hand. Yeah, kvod harav, chesed before Pesach. Of course, kvod harav. What do we learn Torah for? We learn Torah to do chesed, to fulfill the Torah. Well, I'm going to learn Torah for no reason. Everybody volunteered, raised their hand, especially widows, special mitzvah in the Torah. To go help a widow, what a mitzvah. I can't wait to tell my wife what kind of chesed I did at the kollel. So each one of the avrechim raised his hand. Oh, the rabbi was happy. Oh, chazakim u'buchim. Yeah, I'm going to give each one of you the name of the widow and the address, and you go to their house and go help them with the house and everything, and whatever they need. Oh, no problem. Each one of the avrechim came, each one got a little envelope. Each one of them started opening the envelope. And what whoop? Everybody got their own wife. Everybody got their own wife. Don't look at the Rosh Kollel, it says, go help your wives. If you're not going to help them before Pesach, they're widows. They don't have you. They need your help right now. What? You think it's easy to clean for Pesach? Okay, you need to learn Torah, but you need to fulfill it also. Sometimes you need to go home and clean house. Take care of the kids. Take a break. Sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes the wife needs to bring tea to her husband, or coffee, or lunch, or whatever it is, even if he didn't ask. In fact, if the only time she does it is after he asks, she's not a good wife. If he has to ask every single time he wants tea, for her to give him tea, and if every single time he has to ask for food, for her to cook him food, she's not a good wife. Why? She's like a restaurant. A restaurant, you go, you ask, and they give you. So if the only time I'm going to get something is if I ask, you're a restaurant, you're not a wife. A wife, an eshet chayil, is thinking, how can I help my husband? He's learning, he's working, he's doing this. He must be hungry. He's a human being after all, even though the kids think he's Superman, he's a human being after all. So he must be hungry, he must want a cup of tea, he must want a cookie, he must want something. So let me just bring it to him. That's it. At some point he needs to eat, at some point he needs to drink, at some point he needs something, right? That's what a wife, that's an eshet chayil, thinks. What does he need before he asks for it? He must want to be alone. Why? I just heard this phone call was tough phone call. Maybe, you know what, kids, I know Abba was supposed to be with you for a second. Why don't we give Abba a little bit of 15 minutes alone? Why? What's wrong with Abba? No, nothing. Nothing's wrong with Abba. Let me play. I'll do something. But she knows that Abba needs 15 minutes alone. Why? Because the IRS just called. The lawyer just called. The bank just called. Somebody just called, and he's not exactly excited to be next to anybody for the next 15 minutes. There's nothing wrong. It's just not the best time. She's thinking about that. He didn't say anything. He doesn't have to say anything. But she knows just enough about her dear husband to say, you know what? Let's give him 15 minutes alone. Let's give him a half hour alone. A person that looks to feel the pain of his spouse, is going to be a much better quality friend, a much better quality husband, a much better quality human being, and a much better Eved Hashem. Because that type of behavior is going to actually do Kiruv naturally. You're going to draw other people to Torah naturally. Why? They're going to see how you behave. They're going to see, wow, He's so nice to his wife. She's so nice to her husband. He always thinks about what I need before I need it. Sometimes he thinks like that. Not always think about what he needs. He's doing things simply for me. Not because he got a benefit out of it. He gave me this gift for me, not because I'm expecting a gift from me. I don't have $5 to buy gas. But he bought me a present, and I can never return him this present. Why? Just because. He brought me flowers on a Tuesday. Why? Just because. A husband that buys his wife presents only on her birthday is not a good husband. It's not a good husband. It's not. Why? Because he's just a little bit of a goy. That's all he is. Why? That's what goyim do. Goyim buy presents on birthdays. Jews buy presents whenever they have an opportunity. You have an opportunity, Rosh Chodesh, that's the holiday of your wife, that's an opportunity to buy a present. You have an opportunity to buy a present before Yom Tov, you buy a present. You have an opportunity to buy a present before Shabbat, you buy a present. You have an opportunity because you got a raise, you got a present, just because, you buy a present. You got an opportunity to buy a present because she did something good or did something bad, or you just want to make her happy, you buy a present. If you have the ability, that's what you do. But if you need a reason, you need an excuse, like a birthday, then all it means is you're a little bit of a goy. That's it. Mina goyim. Mina goyim. Husband needs to know. His wife, even if she says, no, I don't like presents, she likes presents. Why? It's not the present. You could buy her a pencil. Pencil. That pencil tells her you care about her. It's not the pencil. She doesn't care about the pencil. She has 5,000 of them. But you decide to buy her a pink pencil because you know she likes the color pink. And you spend an extra 3 minutes at the store to buy a pink pencil. And you said, honey, here. Oh, sweetie, all of a sudden it's like, ishtabach, what a husband I have. What a pen, the best pencil in the world. She's never going to use it. But she'll always remember you loved her that day. Because you took 3 minutes to buy her a pink pencil. But if you're going to wait for her birthday, and the anniversary that you sometimes forget, and the holiday that sometimes you're not really sure if it's for us or if it's for them, you're not really sure what's going on, you're waiting for an excuse, you have to work on yourself as a husband. You have to work yourself. Same thing with the wife. Same thing with the wife. Wife always has to look for ways to help her husband become a better version of him. If she sees that he's spending more time with his friends than he is with his rabbi, she has to find a way to bring the rabbi to him then. She sees he's more interested in going to a basketball game than to go to a shiur Torah. She has to do whatever she can to get the shiur Torah to him. Get him to go to shiur Torah. Go to the shiur Torah with him. Do whatever she can to get him to the shiur Torah. Why? If she sends him to the shiur Torah, she'll get a husband. She sends him to the game, she'll get a roommate. All of these wives send their husbands to the game. Basketball game and football game, and their whole life becomes one big joke. One big game. Why? Because the husband never learned how to be a husband before he got married. He definitely doesn't know how to be married once he got married. So when he's going to know how to be married? A person needs to constantly look for ways to feel his friend's pain. Rabbi Avraham Godinsky, one of the famous mashgichim of Slavotka, said that empathy with pain of others is easier to achieve than empathy with their joy. If someone listens to what I'm about to say, it's deep. But if you understand what I mean to say, you'll understand a lot. Why? You'll understand, one, how the Torah, what the Torah meant when it said that a human being is evil within himself. There's evil in a human being. You'll understand why we are corrupt naturally. Naturally, we're corrupt. Which means that without Torah, it is impossible to be a good human being. Impossible. But people think, no, I'm a good person. I don't destroy, I don't kill anybody. At least no one caught me yet. I don't steal. At least no one caught me yet. I don't, what? Why? I'm a good person. People think they're a good person because they simply don't murder. Donkeys don't murder any also. That make them good people. Good donkey goes to Gan Eden. You'll see from what Rav Gozinski actually says, why without Torah it's simply impossible to be a decent human being. Naturally, it's much easier for us to get to a point of feeling sympathy for another person because he's suffering or she's suffering. If you hear somebody just lost something that's very valuable, it could be a life of a loved one, could be a marriage, could be a job, could be whatever it is, and they call you or they come across you, it's very easy for you to cry with them and feel for them if you're a decent human being. Or at least you're trying to be. You hear some news about some kid fell off of a building and he died, and you don't know who the kid is. You don't know who the kid is, but you see how his parents are crying, you start crying. One of the Avrichim at the kollel of Rav Ephraim, both of his parents were murdered 2 weeks ago. Shem Yerachem. You learn about these parents to tzaddikim. The father was tzaddik, Mamash did mesirut nefesh for Klal Yisrael. The Avrech says, my father, I never knew how much good he would do. I said to my father, how come you doing all your work for free? He says, son, not everything is about making money. He was an accountant. He would do the accounting for college, yeshivot for free. Not a discount. Free. A lot of people say discount, but in reality it's a premium, by the way. Oh, it's a good deal for you, sir. It's a good deal for you because you're a rabbi, right? Yeah, good deal for you. By the way, it's a premium. Don't believe in good deals. There's no such thing as a good deal. Somebody says, no, it's a special discount for you. He's a premium. It's actually more expensive. He was actually doing mamash chesed, free work for batei midrash, kollels, and so on. Shem Yachem got murdered in cold blood by one of the workers in the building, an Arab worker in the building. Him and his wife. You hear such a story, you never heard of these people before. You don't know who they are. Naturally, you feel bad. Why? Somebody lost their life. Somebody lost their parents. Somebody lost their loved ones, a community, and so on and so forth. It's easier for a normal person to feel bad. But that doesn't make you good. That just makes you human. What makes you good? If you can get yourself to be happy for their success. And that is very difficult for most people. It's much easier, Rav Gozinski says, for you to get to a point where you feel bad for them. But it's hard for you to feel good for them. It's hard for you to feel good for the same person. He just told you, oh yeah, somebody, bad news. Oh, sorry to hear. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. You know, my heart's with you. You have a campaign I can donate to. Oh, you feel bad for them. But he tells you, oh, I just got married. Oh, really? Who will marry you? No, I mean, oh yeah, Chazak Baruch. Yeah, what? Wow. Why? Because it's hard for people to feel good for other people. Mamash. It's hard for them because they're jealous. Their jealousy eats them up. And by the way, if you're jealous, you're not a good person at all. At all. There's nothing good about you. If you're jealous of the other person, nothing good about it. Why? Because jealousy is evil. Why? Why can't you be happy for her that she got married? Why? What is it? How would it hurt you? What? He was not going to marry you. He doesn't even know you exist. So what difference is it to you if she got married? Why? What do you lose out of it to be happy that she got married? What do you lose out of it that he got married? What do you lose out of it? She doesn't know you. She wasn't going to marry you. What do you lose out of it to be happy for them getting married? What do you lose out of this guy? He got a promotion, now he makes 10 times more money than you. Why? Is that coming out of your paycheck? Why? What do you lose? Why are you so jealous about him making more money? What? What do you lose out of it for being happy? Oh, chazak u'baruch. You know what? Good for you, man. Good for you. Hopefully make 10 times more next year also. Why can't you say that? Why do people always have this inclination to immediately, he doesn't deserve it? What are you jealous of? For what? What is there to be jealous of other people? I never understood it. My whole life, I never understood. Why spend a minute being jealous of anybody? You want it bad enough, go do the same thing. If he has it, that means it doesn't belong to you. If it belonged to you, it'd be in your hands. Why be jealous? For what? What do you get out of it? Other than eating your heart over and over and over again with a never ending. You look at his wife. Why are you looking at his wife? She's not your wife. Why? Why are you jealous of his wife? Why are you jealous of him and his wife? Why? You want a wife? Go find yourself a wife. What's the problem? The point is, when a person thinks deep into himself and starts giving himself real talk, real mussar, he starts realizing, you know what? I never had a tough time feeling bad for the people in my life when bad things happen to them. But anytime something good, I never went out of my way to celebrate with them. I never went out of my way to feel real good for them. I went to the wedding not necessarily because I was trying to make them happy. I went to the wedding because hopefully I can meet Oshiduch. I went to the wedding because it's free food. I went to the wedding because my friends are there. We're going to have a good time. You didn't go to the wedding because of the khatan. Why? Because it's hard for us to feel good for other people, just like we feel bad for them. And Rav Gozinski says, one time he was traveling and he was staying with a family. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he begins to dance. He begins to dance in the living room. Starts dancing. Yay, hey, yay, yay. Ay, 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 ay. Why are you dancing? What's wrong? After he finishes dance, he says, why, you think I'm crazy? I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. You know why I was dancing? One of my students is getting married right now. I can't be with him right now in a chuppah because I'm here. I can't be with him, but I'm happy. And I'm celebrating with him right now. I'm celebrating right now. Why? Because I'm happy for him. I don't have to be next to him to be happy. I can be happy here. That's a person that knows what it means to be happy for somebody. Just like we know really well how to be sad for them. We're very, very good at that. What's the benefit of doing this other than changing your entire perspective on life? The Gemara says in Masechet Bava Kama, page 92a, anyone that entreats on behalf of his friend for something he himself needs will be answered by God first. If you pray for somebody for something you need also, you pray for their refuah shlema, and you happen to need refuah shlema too. You pray for them to have good parnasah, and you happen to need parnasah too. You need a zivug, but you pray for his zivug, not for your zivug. You pray for other people. Gemara says, Hashem will give it to you. You pray for his parnasah, Hashem is going to give you parnasah. You pray for his zivug, Hashem is going to give you zivug. You pray for his good health, Hashem is going to give you health. Why? Why? I'm praying for him. Shouldn't Hashem give it to him? Yeah, I'll give it to him too, but I'll give it to you also. Why? The Or Yitzchak says, anyone who cares so much for a friend that he gets to a point that he prays to Hashem Yitbarach for him, as if it's for him himself, he's praying for him like it's for himself. Anyone that gets to that level that he's so passionate about his friend getting good, as much as he's praying for himself, Hashem, please give him refuah shlema, please Hashem, refuah shlema. The guy himself has cancer, but he's praying for himself, his friend, to get rid of a cold. Like he's praying for his own cancer. Please Hashem, your poor guy is ammonia. Please Hashem, give him refresh. He does eat budadut for him. He starts praying for him. He does tani dibu for him. He does everything in the world for his friend because he's sick. He has a cold. He has a this, he has a that. Even though he himself is sick, but he prays for his friend. The Or Yitzchak says anyone that gets to that point, that he prays to Hashem Yitbarach for his friend as if it's for himself, deserves for Hashem to answer him first. You're so beautiful as a person. You care about your friends so much, even more than yourself. Hashem says, I love you. I'm going to show you my love by answering you first. None of you pretend. None of you pretend, oh yeah, I said a Tehillim for you. You don't even know what he's talking about. Yeah, I'll pray for you. You forgot. Who is with... No, mamash, you pray to Hashem for this person to have refuah shlema, even though you're sick too. This is not natural. Why? Usually when a person has problems, and you tell them about somebody else's problems, they don't like to hear it. They don't like to hear it. Why? Start telling them, oh, listen, yeah, this guy, poor guy, just lost his job. Ah, okay, lost his job. I lost my job already 2 months ago, so whatever, fine. But he doesn't care that the guy lost his job. He just cares that he's in a hole himself. He's in a hole himself. Well, okay, he lost his job. Listen, if I survive 2 months, I haven't had a job, he'll be fine. Oh, his wife just left. Okay, his wife just left. Listen, my wife left me 10 years ago. Listen, he'll live. Careless about the other guy's pain. Careless about the other guy's pain. Why? Get too focused on yourself. Naturally, that's how a human being is. Ra. If you work on yourself and you realize his pain has nothing to do with yours. It's nothing to do with the fact that you have pain. It's inconsequential. You should feel bad for his pain because he has it. Not because you have or don't have. Pray for him. Ask Hashem to have mercy. And if you really do it for real, guess what? You'll win more than him even. You'll win more than him. Why? Because you're purifying yourself. You become a happier person. You become a better person. And if you're a better, happier person, you have a better connection with Hashem. You have a better connection with Hashem. Guess what? Hashem wants to talk to you. He says, who is this beautiful kid of mine that keeps praying for his friends? Who is this beautiful child of mine that keeps raising money for campaigns that he makes nothing out of? Who is this beautiful child of mine that all he does is chesed for other people, even though he himself is struggling nonstop? Who is this? I want to talk to him. I want to help him. You know what? This issue that you have financially, I'm going to fix that. Why? You keep praying for everybody else's parnasah. You got to a point you're praying for everybody else's parnasah. I'm going to make you rich. Imagine if each one of us prayed for each other. Not for our selfish self. Imagine a world where everybody prayed for each other. What a wonderful world it would be. Automatically would make you love each other much more. Why? Next time you see a friend, like, I know you've been praying for you. I know you've been praying for me. And you know what? I've been praying for you. Why? If you pray for somebody, think about them. Automatically makes you love them. I know you've been praying for me. I feel it. I feel my life is better now. Why? I know it's your prayer. I know it's your prayer that's helping me. Next time you see the guy, you want to hug the guy. You want to hug him. Why? It's my boy. My life is much better. I know it's because of you. I know you pray for me. Imagine not such a world. Imagine such a world. That's the Torah world. I tell you that these Avrechim that we know in Yerushalayim, honestly, until I met them, I never knew such a thing existed. I never knew such good people existed. Unbelievable human beings. And you see these people, mamash, they live this Torah. They live it like it's mamash, it's unbelievable. How amazing, how beautiful a Ben Torah is. It's purely like a beautiful human being. All they want is to do good. All they want is to help. All they want is to just help you in any way, and if you happen to have a merit to do anything for them, they thank you until they turn blue in their face. It's like you just gave them, I don't know, olam haba or something. It's unbelievable. But all day, they look for a way of how can I help each other? How do we help each other? I'll give you a little tiny story. All of the avrechim, for the most part, struggle one way or another financially because you don't make much money from the kollel. Not much money is an understatement. So each one of them has to find money in different ways, some from tzedakah, some from work that they do by being a scribe or doing other different things. Some have family help them and so on. Some do better than others. But many, it's a very common thing for an avrech to struggle financially. It's part of the tikkun. But there are mamash some avrechim that are so poor, it breaks your heart when you hear the stories. I mean, I remember one time I heard one of the avrechim we know, he asked another avrech to do him a favor. What's the favor? He says, do me a favor. After you finish Shabbat, don't throw out the chicken bones. You have chicken, right? You're doing chicken. Don't throw out the chicken bones. Give them to me, the chicken bones. Well, you need the chicken bones? He goes, no, I need flavoring for the soup. I need flavoring I want to make my kids chicken soup. We don't have the chicken. So I need them to taste something that tastes like chicken. So give me the bones of the chicken so I can put it in the soup that I'm going to make my kids on Sunday so they can feel like they're eating something that tastes like chicken soup instead of just water. We're talking about somebody at that level of poverty. Such level of poverty doesn't even exist in America. I remember giving a homeless person a pizza. She told me, no, I had some already. She gave it back to me. We're talking about somebody like this. And this person, from morning to night, he learns Torah with no break. 7, 8 kids, Baruch Hashem. Happy as can be. But struggling financially sometimes. So you help such people like this. It's mamash, a gift from Shamayim. We try to do whatever we can. We send money and we do and this, but it's never enough. It's never enough. People complain about their car, that they don't like this car. They can't wait for the lease to be over because the next car is a better car. They spend $700-800 a month on a car. They don't realize that $800 a month can mamash feed a family for a month. But these people, the ones we know, Baruch Hashem, something special. One time, this particular person that was struggling, the rest of the avrechim said, okay, he's not doing well. They're all not doing well. But they decided they had a meeting, he's not doing well. Let's go, guys. Chop, chop. Everybody's got to raise money. Everybody come on. From who? From what? From yourself. From that $500 a month each one of you makes? Okay, you eat less now. Give it to him. Each one took money out of their own pocket, out of their own family's pocket, to give it to him. You think it's a one-time story? It's every month. Every month somebody else gets. Every month they share. Somebody struggled. One of the guys, they shut off his electric. He hasn't paid it in God knows how long. And over there, they don't joke around. They shut off everything. And then they're not turning it on until you come up with the money. They had to come up, I think it was maybe like 5,000 shekels or 6,000 shekels. But without it, the kids, mamash, misken, the kids was crying. The house was dark the whole Shabbat. On Sunday, the kids are still crying. They don't know what to do, poor kids. What are they going to do? They don't know what. Abba and Ima can't pay electric. As soon as the avrechim found out, they all left. They left the books. They started going from one to another. Let's collect money. Let's collect money. They collected whatever they came from themselves. Okay, now let's go to other places. They started going to other places. They started collecting money. Why? He needs 5,000 shekels. When? No. No. No start a chesed fund. Now he needs the money. His kids are crying at home. He needs the money now. Every month we hear a story like this. Every month these people look for ways to help each other. It's unbelievable. Unless I saw with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe this exists. how beautiful is such a nation that looks for ways to help each other and doesn't wait for tragedy to happen. How poor is a nation that waits for tragedy to happen before they help. How many campaigns do you see out there that are looking for ways to help instead of ones that are helping after it's already too late? You tell people, listen, help us make more Jews Jews. Jews become more Jewish. Help us save neshamot. Help us save neshamot to go to Gan Eden to live eternally. Once in a while somebody donates a few dollars. Once in a while somebody donates a few shekels and so on. But tell, hey, somebody died. Somebody died. The guy died. Somebody died. The family needs to bury him. They start a campaign. They raise $500,000. Okay, they don't need $500,000 to bury the guy. $1 million, $2 million. In some cases I've seen, they raised $2 million because somebody died. Now you feel bad. The person died. I understand. It's horrible. It's awful. But how come all the money is going to dead people? Why can't we save the living ones? Or at the very least, the same. I know you're helping the family that's still alive and so on and so forth, but they're not all disabled. Whereas Klal Yisrael is not part of the Torah, is a disabled nation. A nation that does not follow the instructions set from God is disabled. Why not save them? That's because of what Arav Godinsky said, which is that if something bad happens, it's very easy for us to be sympathetic. It's very easy for us to feel bad for them. But to make good things happen, very hard for us. Very hard for us to celebrate with them. Very hard for us to be happy for them. The next thing is a machriol lekav zchut, judging him favorably. He will judge his fellow favorably even if he does something that seems to be sinful, the Midrash Shmuel says. Because he has a desire to help other people, he will accentuate the good in them and attempt to overlook their shortcomings, all for the sake of national unity. Now, a person that wants to get this Keter Torah is going to do what we said before, which is look for ways to see people in a good light. Even though sometimes it's very, very difficult because they bring darkness to themselves. But as the Ramban writes to his son, even if you have wealth, look at him as he has wisdom that you don't. Even if you has wisdom, look at it as he's more righteous than you, and so on and so forth. Look for something good in your fellow. Don't only look at the bad things. And if you see him do something bad, look at what the Halacha says. If until now he's been a kosher person, and you don't have any verifiable reason of why he's doing something bad, but he's driving on Shabbat. But until now, you know him, he's been keeping Shabbat, but you happen to see him in a car on Shabbat. If he's a kosher person until now, you're obligated to create and use your imagination to create a reason of why he's driving on Shabbat legally. Meaning, he's saving somebody's life. So he's allowed to drive on Shabbat. He's saving somebody's life. He's allowed to drive on Shabbat. But how come you don't see the other person? You're going to think about that next. Oh, maybe he's laying down in the back. Hashem gave you the imagination in order for you not to make Mickey Mouse movies. In order for you to give kav zchut for a person that deserves it. I know one time, people saw me drive on Shabbat. After we did Teshuva. How do I know? Because I drove on Shabbat. I know I drove on Shabbat. You know why? Because my neighbor, his dog bit his face. My neighbor knocked on my door on Friday night. It's maybe 10 o'clock at night. Knocked on my door. And I see the two parents worried to death and the little kid, Hashem Yachem, his face. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? I said, I'm going to take your kid to the hospital. No, it's allowed. It's not allowed. What? It's just a bite. He's not. I said, Halacha is, if it's a dog or a snake, it's pikuach nefesh. If you got bitten by a dog or a snake, it's pikuach nefesh. So just because maybe you're thinking that I'm trying to, I'll drive the kid. I'll drive him to the hospital. No problem. Now, if somebody would have saw, I'm driving on Shabbat, it's like, here's faker. Look at this faker. He's driving on Shabbat. Why? Because they didn't give kaf zchut. But if they would have known what actually really happened, there's a little baby, I think it was 5 years old, 6 years old, no, 4 years old. 4-year-old kid with holes in his face. Mitzvah? Yes.
It's only a dog and a snake?
Specifically dog and a snake for halacha, yeah. Unless it's something poisonous. Yeah, if it's something poisonous, yes. But dog and a snake, it specifically mentions in the halacha because they're not always necessarily poisonous. There's sometimes a snake is not necessarily poisonous, but he bites. And sometimes the dog doesn't have rabies, but he bites. Other things, they're always poisonous. These are not always poisonous, so it says, even if they're not always poisonous, by default, it's pikuach nefesh. Why? Because if they're poisonous, the poison's going to kill. It's not like maybe it'll kill. Like rabies definitely kills. It's not maybe it'll kill. You understand? So there's no, even if there's a 1% chance of life risk, it's considered pikuach nefesh. It's mitzvah to save their life, even if it requires you to violate Shabbat in any way. So, a person that would have seen me drive on that Shabbat would have said, "Oh, this guy is a faker." Or the next day, Baruch Hashem, they released him from the hospital. The kid needed medicine. Drove on Shabbat. Why? It's pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh. If this kid doesn't get the medicine, he's a little baby. He's not like so much. If you don't get this specific medicine, this could be serious problems. Pikuach nefesh. Someone that sees, he's in a store, he's buying stuff. What? This guy's a faker. It's a faker. No, maybe he's really Muslim. Maybe he's really a Christian missionary. So you have to give somebody that has a good history. Until now, you don't have a legitimate reason to question him. You have to find a very creative reason until you convince yourself that what he's doing is a mitzvah, not an avira. Even though it's as clear as day, what he's doing is against Shabbat. It's against Halacha. You have to do kaf zchut, give him the benefit of the doubt that what he's doing, you're not seeing the whole picture clearly. There's something behind the scenes that you don't know, that what he's doing actually is allowed. On the other hand, if somebody's a rasha, is a known rasha, he's a known thief, he's a known womanizer, he's a known murderer, all of a sudden you start seeing this guy do chesed in the community. All of a sudden Hitler starts giving out food for the homeless. You're not allowed to give him kaf zchut, and in fact, you have to say he has poison in the food. What he's doing, there's something wrong with it. Why? He has a track record of being a murderer. He has a track record of being ganav, being a thief. All of a sudden he's giving tzedakah, that's probably because he just robbed a bank. He's getting rid of the evidence. He's giving it to people. He's a thief. He's a known thief. No way he became generous with his own money. You know who was really generous? Bernie Madoff. Yimach Shemo. Very generous. Why? All of his money was stolen. It's very easy to be generous with other people's money. So, a person needs to know how to give kaf zchut, how to give the benefit of the doubt. But if he doesn't work on giving people the benefit of the doubt, he'll have the opposite natural nature which of the person, which is always question everyone and everything and never give people the benefit of the doubt. Naturally, we don't give people the benefit of the doubt. So much so that we cancel out people very quickly, which is not good. Because many times you can be wrong. And even if you're wrong one time, it's one too many. There's a famous story that happened in Eretz Yisrael. There was a religious girl that for the first time in her life, she was flying. And she decided to make sure that she gets, because she didn't know if they're going to have kosher food on the plane or not. It's the first time she's flying in her life, so she made sure that she'll buy something that she could hold her off for the 10-hour flight. So she went to the store in the airport, and she bought wafers, kosher wafers. She said, okay, at least these I could eat and hold me up until later on. So she bought the wafers, and she sat down and waited for the plane. As she's waiting, some guy that she doesn't know sits next to her. He sits down. She's sitting down. She's not so comfortable. But they're both waiting for the same plane. As you would have it, she sees that this guy reaches down, takes the wafers out of the package, and starts eating them. Takes a wafer and puts package down. She miskena, the poor woman, and she's like, busha v'chirpa, he's eating my wafers. Who is she? She's too shy to say something to him, but at the same token, she doesn't know, like, this is unusual. So, you know what, at least let me eat my wafers, so he doesn't eat all the wafers. So she took a wafer. He finished the wafer, she finished the wafer, and she sees him, and he goes and he takes another wafer, and he eats it. She says, Ribono shel olam, what a chutzpan, he's looking at me while he's eating my wafers. She eats another wafer, so this guy's not going to eat all my wafers. That guy's looking at her, he's smiling, he's happy. No. He's not angry at her. He's not angry at him. He goes down and takes another wafer. She goes, Yishtabach Shimolad, this guy is from some different planet. This is a Gilgul of Haman. This guy, Ganav Menuva, she takes another wafer, but she's upset now. She's eating faster now, so to out-eat him. One. Eventually, they get to the end of the package. There's one wafer left. He takes the wafer, the last one. He breaks it in half. He puts one half down to give it to her, and he eats the wafer. He's a nice thief. She's thinking, this guy is what kind of thief is he? Not only stole, he gave me half. She's thinking, what kind of tikkun is this before the flight? I can't believe it. This is how our flight went. As soon as she got on the plane, she sits down. The other guy sits in his chair. She's thinking how much she hates this guy. What a menuval. What a despicable person. Taking advantage of nice little religious girl from Bnei Brak. What is the matter with these people? What are this? What are that? What are this? And as she's so upset, she starts going to her bag to get something, and she sees, what? The bag she got from the store never left her bag, with the wafers inside them, untouched and unopened. The whole time, it's his wafers. The whole time she's accusing him of eating her wafers. Menuval, Rasha, Haman, Amalek, Hitler, this. The guy's smiling at her. It's you. It's you. You're the criminal. Because you're looking at other people all the time. Imagine what kind of busha this person had. Benefit of the doubt. Give the benefit of the doubt, Ribono shel olam. Why? Why are you judging people so harshly immediately? Check yourself. A friend of mine said to me once, sometimes you go to Beit Knesset and you see, in Shachrit, you see all the guys have tefillin on, Baruch Hashem, and you see sometimes a person maybe didn't pay attention, or maybe something moved, or whatever happened, and his tefillin, instead of being between his eyes, it's like on the right side over here. It's like some people wear their baseball hat on the side. He has his tefillin on the side, but he doesn't know because you don't feel it as much sometimes. Or it's a little crooked or whatever it is. He says, everybody likes to correct each other. Oh, your tefillin. Oh, tefillin. Oh, everybody likes to tell each other your tefillin. It's good. You have to do it. But in reality, it's a reminder from Hashem, check yourself first. You're checking his tefillin because you see his tefillin. Why don't you go look in the mirror and see yours? Maybe yours is also crooked. Maybe Hashem made you see his tefillin crooked, not because of him, but because your tefillin are crooked also. Maybe you should check yourself to see if your tefillin are crooked too. Check yourself. A person that is going to spend his time, his effort, and mamash do mesirut nefesh to judge other people favorably, will not only be a happier person, but will also be a better Eved Hashem. And will get presents to no end from Hashem Yitbarach, one of them including the Keter Torah, the ultimate present. Ma'amido ala emet, setting him on a truthful course. Naturally, when you hear what I just said about giving people the benefit of the doubt, people like this part. But that's the problem. They take it too far. They give people too much benefit of the doubt because they don't know that there are rules to benefit of the doubt. If the guy is a Rasha, you're not allowed to give him a benefit of the doubt. If he's a Tzaddik, you have to give him a benefit of the doubt. So this benefit of the doubt is only for specific people. There are rules to this. And that's why the next part that a person needs to know is that he has to set his colleague, his friend, his brother, his sister on a truthful course, meaning make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's the benefit of the doubt or the chesed or whatever it is, it's according to the emet. It's according to the right course, not according to your opinion. When a colleague makes a mistake, a true Torah scholar is going to correct him in a tactful way without getting any pleasure out of it. And he attempts to make sure to focus on the emet and not necessarily any type of pleasure. When you see that you have, let's say, another guy in the yeshiva, another guy in the beit knesset, another guy in the community, he also learns. And you guys go back and forth. Sometimes you learn chavuta, sometimes you challenge each other a little bit. It's good. As long as it's not a challenge about winning, but rather a challenge about emet. How do you know? How do you know if it's emet or if it's about winning? If it's about winning, it's a sin. If it's about emet, it's a mitzvah. How do you know if it's about winning or if it's about emet? If it's about winning, then any time he gets something wrong, he says the wrong halacha, he makes the wrong prayer, he gets the wrong page, you have a little bit of happiness inside. If you're happy that he failed, then it's about winning. Then what you're doing is a sin. But if every time you see that he made a mistake or she made a mistake, you feel bad, and you go and correct them, and tell them, no, it's not that page, it's a different one. Oh, no, it's not Avraham, it's Yitzchak. Oh, no, it's not this, it's that. And you correct them for the sake of emet, then what you're doing is a mitzvah. But you also have to pick your battles. Sometimes people forget that there are certain things that don't necessarily need correction, or there's a better way of correcting. For example, sometimes people watch a shiur for 2-3 hours and they'll find one word that was wrong. Meaning, instead of, let's say, if I said Avraham, they'll say, I say it's Yitzchak. And I'll say a whole story or a whole thing based on Avraham, but in reality it's Yitzchak. So the person will write a whole journal on some comment. I know, come on, it's Yitzchak. In the story, at 2 hours and 37 minutes and 12 seconds, you said it's Avraham, but it's really Yitzchak because it says it over here, and it says it over here, and it says it over here. It's Yitzchak. This is Gava. This is 100% ego. It has nothing to do with the emet. Why? Whether it's Avraham or it's Yitzchak, it doesn't change the content. It doesn't change the message. If it doesn't change the message, it doesn't require correction. Especially not a public one. Especially not a public one. Not just about me, but anybody else. I don't care. You can come until you're blue in the face. It makes no difference to my life. But other people will get embarrassed from such things. Sometimes they hear a shiur. One of their friends trying to give a shiur. And he's going, and he's going, and he's got 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes giving a shiur. All of a sudden, he mispronounces a word. He mispronounces a rabbi's name. He mispronounces some word. It doesn't really change the content. Everybody knows what he says. Everybody knows what he says. But he didn't pronounce it the right way. And there's always a superhero that says, hey, no, that's not the way you say it. It's shatnez. Not shatnez. It's shatnez. You know? No, it's not shab. It's Shabbat. You know, it's Shabbat. And he starts giving you a grammar shiur in the middle of your shiur. That's ga'ava. Ga'avat adam tashpilenu. Hashem says, your ga'ava, I'm going to use it to destroy you. To make you embarrassed. Why? Because you embarrassed other people. You want to help them pronounce things better? Let them finish. Let them finish. After, say, by the way, everybody left. Whatever it is. Tell them the little secret. By the way, it's this. But in reality, you don't even need to. Why? It's not going to change anything. Is the message the same? Did the message change because he mispronounced it? Did the message change because the name was wrong? It's not the rabbi this, it's rabbi that. Did anything change? No. So what difference does it make? What difference does it make? That's how a person knows whether he's after emet or he's after his ego. And now we get to the next thing, which is ma'amido ala shalom. Setting him on a peaceful course. A person that wants the crown of Torah has to be ready to compromise when it's possible and it's legitimate. Meaning that a person needs to look at things in a way where there are certain times that you have to pick your battles. There are certain times that you have to lose a battle on purpose. There's certain times you have to make a compromise, but you always have to make sure that it's a legitimate compromise, that you go to the first one before, which is emet. Why do you do all of these things? For the sake of shalom. Shlomo HaMelech says in Proverbs 3:17, which is one of the things that we say in prayer every day, Darkea darkei noam v'kol netivotea shalom. Shlomo HaMelech says that the ways of the Torah are the ways of pleasantness, and all of its pathways are peace, meaning that the ultimate purpose of the Torah is to create peace in the world, not to create war. Even though people think that religion brings war, they're mistaken. They're sadly mistaken. It's the opposite. If everybody kept the Torah, there would be no war. There was a meeting between the Chazon Ish and Ben Gurion. Ben Gurion wasn't exactly a tzaddik, to say the least. It's actually one of the people that did a seance and publicized it. Talked about how they brought the neshama of Ben Gurion from Gehinnom, or Kafakela. And he told him how he's being burned with an unending sentence. But when it was time for him to use the Torah for his own interest, he used it. When he went to the United Nations, they asked him, what gives you the right to the land of Israel? He took the Tanakh and he raised it. He said this is our right to the nation. What? God said it. If the Arabs had a brain, they would have said, yeah, but God said it. What else are you doing that God said? Do you keep Shabbat? Do you keep Tahat Mishpacha? Do you keep kosher? Do you keep anything? If they would have said that, Eretz Yisrael wouldn't have happened. Baruch Hashem, Hashem made the Arabs stupid. No, be'emet. Many of them are very stupid people. Baruch Hashem. Because if they were smart, there wouldn't be Israel. You don't need weapons in a rational. If you exclude Hashem running the world the way He does, Chas v'Shalom, but in reality, Arabs don't need weapons to beat Am Yisrael. All they need is to simply not kill each other for one day and go take a walk. 2 billion people walk into Eretz Yisrael. Finished. No war, no weapons, nothing. Not even forks. Nothing. No bombs. No nothing. 2 billion Arabs, Muslims, walk into Eretz Yisrael. Finished. Finished. Okay, so they kill a few of them. What else are you going to do? By the time the rest of them come, they're just going to swallow you up. They're going to eat you like shish kebab. You don't need weapons. Baruch Hashem, Hashem doesn't give them these types of ideas. Some of them are watching the shiur. But they're good Arabs, the one watching the shiur. Now, the secular mindset told Ben Gurion that he could use the Tanakh whenever he wanted. We're almost finished. And he went to the Chazon Ish and he said to him, look at you guys. All day you learn, you're at the stender and you're learning and you're learning and you're learning. You need us. You need Tzal. You need the army. What? If the Arabs come and attack us, what's going to save you? The stender? What, the book's going to save you? The thing that holds the book? What's going to save you? Chazon Ish answers him. He says, anytime there's a problem, you have to fix it. You see, the Torah says, "Im bechukotai telechu," if you went with my laws, you followed my laws, I will bring peace to the world. I will peace to Am Yisrael. Vim lo bechukotai telechu. If you didn't go with the laws, there's going to be war, there's going to be problems, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. So see, you're right. Now we need Tzahal. We need the army. We need the army. Why? Because you're not following the law, Ben Gurion. Because you keep making sins. We need an army because there's constant war because of you. But if everybody came here to the Bet Midrash with me, there would be no war, there would be no need for the army. Because that's what the Torah says. You remember Ben Gurion when you picked up the book in the United Nations, he says to him, that same book, he opened it, says that same book, that you said that's the right, that same book says, you're the reason for the war, not us. You're the reason for the problems, not us. So really, us at the Kollel, we're saving you. When a person understands what the value of a Ben Torah is, and he realizes the value of such a person, the value of this Keter Torah, his mindset changes, his perspective changes. As we said in the beginning of the shiur, people simply do not understand what the value of Torah is, that how it can bring peace to the world. And they insist on keeping people ignorant, keeping them reshaim. They mention part of the story, but not the whole thing. They mention a rabbi for one thing, but not for the other. But if you look at what the Chachamim said in the Gemara about the Torah and about the power of Torah and those that possess it, you would see that in order to be a Ben Torah, in order to be someone that's a slave of Hashem, someone that's a servant of Hashem, someone that loves Hashem, not only are you going to be someone that's not politically correct, but if you are alive today, you'll probably be despised by most people for your ideology. Amar Rebbe, the Gemara in Masechet Bava Batra, page 8a, has a story that puts Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, in a state where if he was alive today, they'd probably put him in jail. Rabbi HaKadosh, Baal Mishnah, they put him in jail today. Who will put him? The Jews. Why? There was one time there was hunger, starvation, people are dying in the streets. Not like today, you're hungry because you skipped a meal. Hunger. People are hungry. They don't have food. Rebbe, without a second thought, opened all of his food, all of his wealth to give. Under one condition: learn Torah. You learn Torah, I'll feed you. He was very wealthy. In today's terms, multi-millionaire, if not billionaire. Came from the Mishpacha of David HaMelech. Rebbe HaKadosh, Gemara says, if Mashiach came in his generation, it would be him. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. They called him Rebbe HaKadosh because he was a holy person to the extent that he never looked at his brit. Never looked at it. Look, now forget touch. Never looked, never saw it. Never doesn't know what he looks like. Never saw anything below his belly. Never. Not once, twice. Never. That's Kadosh. Rebbe HaKadosh opened all of his wealth, said, if you learn Torah, I'll sustain you. What do you know? You know Gemara? Come. Learn here, I'll pay you. What do you know? Mishnah? Come. Here, I'll pay you. What do you learn? Chumash? Come, I'll pay you. Whatever you learn. Siburei Tzadikim? Come, I'll pay you. Oh, you don't learn? You don't do anything? Go work. People came, they wanted, hey, listen, okay, you learn Torah? No. You don't learn Torah? You don't want to learn Torah? Go work. I'm not going to pay you. Yeah, but I'm hungry. Go find a job. Go find a job. What? I'm not supposed to pay you. I'm here to help the tzaddikim, the people who are trying to learn Torah. You want to work? Go work. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram came to him and says, Rebbe parneseni, Rebbe, give me some money. He says, do you know any Torah, my son? He says, no. He says, so why should I give you any food? Why should I give you any money then? What, I'm going to help you sin more? Ya Am Haaretz, you don't know anything. Well, I'm going to help you live for longer against Hashem. Why should I give you anything? He says, like, they throw a dog, they throw him a left. As soon as he left, Rebbe started thinking, live longer, another day longer, another week longer to make more sins against Hashem. He doesn't know any Torah. Why did I do such a thing? He started feeling terrible. Until his son, Rabbi Shimon bar Rebbe, came to him. He says, Abba, you know who that was? That was Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, your student. He says, what? How come I didn't know? He says, because he disguised his look. He disguised his look, but I know it's him. Looks like him, it's him. He disguised his look, that's why you didn't recognize him. He says, are you sure, my son? He says, I'm positive. Immediately, Rebbe sent people, go find him and make sure it's him. They went, they verified, it's him. They went, they verified, it's him. Baruch Hashem, I didn't give my money to Am Haaretz. I gave my money to a Talmid Chacham. Why did Rabbi Yonatan say this? Why did Rabbi Yonatan disguise himself? Because Rabbi Yonatan swore that he would never get any financial benefit out of his Torah. But when he got to this point of starvation, he says, I need to live. So at that point, Rebbe HaKadosh did some own self-inflection, some own reflection. He said, wait a minute. My Talmidim are such tzaddikim. They're such tzaddikim, they don't want to come to me to help them financially because they think that it's considered like they're benefiting from their Torah. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? All of them are going to die. All I'm going to be left with is a bunch of reshaim. All I'm going to be left with is a bunch of amei haratzot. They don't know anything. He says, you know what? Everyone come. I'll feed everybody. Why? Because if they see that I'm feeding everyone, then they'll say, okay, they can come. My tzaddikim students can come also. My tzaddikim students come out because they see I'm feeding everybody. That's the cheshbon of somebody that has mamash connection, direct connection to Hashem Yitbarach. He did such a thing. Now, what he said is not just a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle. And we'll finish with this. Rebbe HaKadosh, In the same Gemara, Masechet Bava Kama, page 8a, it says that one time the Goy king of the area, or mayor, decided that he wants to renew one of the jewels on his crown. And he said, what do you do when you want to renew a jewel? Tax the people. He says, all of the Jewish people, you have to come up with the money right away for me to buy this precious jewel. Everybody came, everybody's nervous, they have to come up with the money. Rabbi said to them, okay, come up with the money because we have to. All of the business people, all of the people that are focused on work, you guys came with the money. Come up with the money. It's like, yeah, what about all your Talmidim? All of the people that are learning in your yeshiva? He goes, no, happy to, chas v'shalom. Al tigu b'mishichai, don't touch my Mashiachs. Don't touch my Mashiachs. What, you guys crazy? You guys pay for it. Your business people pay. Not because they don't have. They have. But you pay for it. They learn Torah. The rich people got so upset, half of them left. Half of them left. The king sent another notice. I see half the people left. I demand all of the money for this jewel immediately from the half that's left. The half that's left came back to Rebbe. He's like, listen, Rebbe, he wants the money, but it's only half of us. It's only half of us. At least half the Avrechim pay for it. Avrechim are not paying $1. Don't touch my Mashiachs. Don't touch my... You out of your mind? You pay for it. You pay for it. You have to pay for it. He goes, Rebbe, listen, we stuck around with you until now. If you don't change it, you don't tell them, you don't get your Avrechim to pay, to join in, we'll leave you. We're all going to leave. All of it's going to go on their head. He says, don't threaten me. Go. Be my guest. Go. Bye. Bye. They all leave except one person. One person that had a business, didn't really want to move. The king saw that everybody left. There's one person left. He sends a notice. I demand all of the money from this one person. The guy came in and says, listen, even if I sell my business and I turn it into a derivative and multiples and so on, it's still not going to be enough to pay this king. He ran away. As soon as he ran away, notice came from the king, you don't have to pay for anything. We found a different investor. And on that, Rabbi Akadosh says, he says, you see, all of the calamity and disaster in the world only happens because of the Reshaim. The only reason why the king wanted this money, why there was a decree, a bad decree, was because they were Amei Aratzot, they didn't learn Torah. But as soon as the Amei Aratzot, as soon as the wicked, as soon as the ignorant, they all left, decree canceled. Why? All they left is tzaddikim. All they left is tzaddikim. So this does not mean that we have to hate the Reshaim. This means that we have to make them tzaddikim. If a person loves Hashem, he spends time, money, effort, and every single thing within his or her power to get Klal Yisrael back to Hashem, to get them to become tzaddikim, and not to keep them ignorant, because he thinks it's better for them. The reality is that getting people to do Teshuva is the biggest favor you can do yourself. Because that's what your Father in heaven is going to ask you one day. What have you done for me? And you're going to say to him, I did mitzvot. He said, mitzvot is for you. I learned Torah. Mitzvot is for you. Torah is for you. I had shlom bayit. Shlom bayit's for you. What did you do for me? He's going to tell you. Hashem, you have everything. I have everything except my children. Did you bring one of them back? No. You've done nothing for me. Everything you did is for you. But that's because we have a misconception of what's ours and what's Hashem's. We think that our body is Hashem's, our body is ours, and the mitzvot is Hashem's. It's the opposite. The Torah and mitzvot is all we really have. The body goes back to Hashem. The body goes into the dust, becomes nothing. It belongs to Hashem. The material, the money, Hashem says, Liya kesef v'liya za'av ne'um Hashem tzevaot. Hashem says, all the money is mine. Why are you playing with my money? All the possessions are mine. Kili kol haaretz. All the world is mine. Why are you buying real estate? It's all mine anyway. Yours? Yours is the mitzvot. Yours is the Torah. You want to do something for Hashem? Get Am Yisrael to come back and stop being Rashaim. Start making them tzaddikim. This, Rabotai Karim, is the next installation of our fantastic series. Thank you for learning with me. Any questions?
There is a famous saying that I've heard a lot of rabbis mention when they're trying to avoid rebuking somebody.
Okay.
They say the guy's doing something wrong, he didn't know it was wrong, then the deen wasn't as strong on him because he was ignorant, he didn't know. And now that you go and rebuke him, he's going to pay more for it because now he knows the deen doubles. Therefore, leave him alone. What is the proper context of this teaching, if there is such a thing as they say?
When a person does something b'shogeg, then the punishment is less. When a person does something b'mezid, on purpose, because shogeg is considered accidental, mezid is considered on purpose. So the punishment that's on purpose, obviously, is much worse. That's the pshat. The problem is that they manipulate these things, they manipulate language, and they're all very, very smooth talkers to make you think that they didn't say one word. If it's shogeg, there's still a punishment. It's not that nobody goes to Gan Eden if he made sins, even if it's accidental, until he does tshuva, he fixes them. But if the shogeg, if the accidental sin is as a result of not learning, then the Torah says in Mishnah Pirkei Avot, then it's not considered shogeg anymore, it's considered on purpose. Why? Shgagat Talmud ola zadon. If your accidental sin is as a result of you not learning about the Halacha because you didn't feel like doing it, that means you didn't feel like doing it on purpose. You didn't learn about it on purpose. So because you didn't learn about it on purpose, the accidental sin is also on purpose. So there is no such thing as if you don't tell him, it makes it better. That's complete and utter nonsense. That's number one. Number two, there's a mitzvah in the Torah of ocheach tocheach et amitecha. Now, they're going to tell you, yeah, but there is something in the Torah, in the Gemara, it says, it's a mitzvah to also not tell somebody something if you know they're not going to listen. That's what they're going to tell you. They're right, but they're wrong. They're right that it does say in the Gemara that if you know for sure he's not going to listen, don't tell him, it's better off. Where are they wrong? They're wrong when they don't tell you that it's pertaining only to rabbinical mitzvot. If he's violating a rabbinical mitzvah, it's okay not to tell him. It's okay, it's mitzvah not to tell him. If you know he's going to go against it, and so on. If it's a rabbinical mitzvah, for example, netilat yadayim. If you saw him, wake up in the morning and he didn't wash his hands. You saw him about to eat bread, he didn't wash his hands. It's a rabbinical mitzvah he's violating. And you know he's the type of person that if you tell him he's going to lose his mind, ruin the whole Shabbat for everybody. It's a mitzvah not to tell him. But, a very big but, if it's a mitzvah deoraita, if it's a mitzvah from the Torah, meaning it's mitzvah from Hashem, not from the rabbis, meaning Shabbat, meaning tarat mishpacha, kashrut, tefillin, and so on, you have to tell him whether he's going to listen or he doesn't listen is irrelevant. And the Rambam posek la'alacha, you have to tell him until he beats you up. There is no such thing as not telling him. You have to tell him. They don't tell you that part. They treat Hashem's mitzvot as rabbinical mitzvot. And they treat rabbinical mitzvot as if there are no mitzvot at all. That is the demented nature of the people that follow the Yetzer Hara instead of Hashem. Where they manipulate the Torah, where they'll tell you something that's truthful, but they'll wrap it up with a bunch of falsehood. They'll mention a Gemara to you, they'll mention a page to you, and they'll assume that you're not going to read it, or that nobody else is going to read it. Say, oh no, it says in the Gemara, page such and such, it says this, don't do that, but it's falsehood. Same thing what they do when people say, no, Kol Yisrael Shlem Chel Kol Olam Haba. All of Israel have a share of the world to come. Yeah, it's true, it does say that. But then it says, but these are the following who don't. So what's the difference? That the verse says, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek le'olam haba, ve'amech kulam tzadikim. Meaning, this is referring to the tzadikim. Not to everyone per se. Amech kulam tzadikim, meaning your whole name, the whole tzadikim. This is referring to the tzadikim. And these are the following who are not tzadikim, who do not have a share of the world to come. And the Mishnah continues for 10 dapim, telling you all the people that Hashem Yachem have no share of the world to come. What else? So, B'seder Rabotai, we have Baruch Hashem another installation in the series like this. Baruch Hashem is a lot more that we can extend on it, but as you can see, each shiur we even sharpen the stuff that we already learned before with something new, even on the stuff that we've already learned. So, B'ezrat Hashem will add some of the stuff later on next week. We have a shiur. Our next shiur, B'ezrat Hashem, is on Sunday in Sunny Isles. And then there is a, B'ezrat Hashem, is going to be a special shiur on Monday. On Monday night, there's going to be a big shiur, B'ezrat Hashem, in Hollywood. Just look at the website or a Facebook page for the details. And again, take everything that we said to heart. Pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things and try to implement them. Whether it's the issues that have to do with Shlom Bayit, or the issues that have to do with becoming more grateful, or giving kaf zchut, the benefit of the doubt, pick something. Pick something and try to apply it. And I think that if everybody picked simply to feel happy for other people, that alone will change the world. That alone will change the world. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.